that's up here since I was talking about
Okay,
them.
all right, there we go.
All right.
Did you take the picture? God.
We're good.
Okay, here we go.
I appreciate
emulated the
you
sound effects 'cause
helping.
you didn't-
You helping.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've just worked out that I don't need a spit mic cover thing now. I can just do that.
There you go. Yeah, pop filter.
Yeah, that'll help Michael with audio editing.
Be fantastic.
Yeah, because it probably sounds really bad now as well. So
Sounds great, actually.
It's not that bad.
Turns out Santa hats are a thing for audio. All right, Michael, go 2 seconds.
I'm not hosting.
Well,
I know.
at least if I do,
But
put
you
this
have
on
to
it-
say go 2 seconds before
Oh.
any of the rest of us can go.
If
So
I put this on, at least it stops Michael having to check the audio twice.
Oh wow, wow.
Michael,
I
got it,
thought
so
I
you-
was the one who does the puns.
The dad jokes, more like. Can we get this show started? I mean, some of us have things to do on Sundays.
how
Like
long
who?
is this going to take, Michael?
Like who?
No, I assume. I don't
Did you
know.
just say like who?
Yeah.
And you get mad at me for saying inappropriate things?
me because it's 6:30 at work tomorrow.
I'm just saying. Like,
I think he's
just
blushing.
saying. We've lost Michael. Michael.exe has stopped responding.
How dare you? It's Deb. Okay.
I hope he doesn't get the blue screen of death while we're recording this time. Did you do all your Windows updates before we started, Michael? Okay. Good job.
Imagine a little beach ball from Apple spinning right here.
No, that's Mac, dude.
I know.
Oh.
I would never use Windows.
For Windows.
I would never use Windows.
He uses a Mac.
I don't use Windows.
He's a Mac guy. Just like Noah. Noah.
Actually, I haven't.
Right,
You guys would be proud.
That's
I
right,
haven't
Ryan's
booted
useless.
my VM in like 2 months or so.
Really? How are you doing graphics?
A
most
different.
amazing software ever.
Yep, I'm doing a video on it. It's Photopea.
Dark
Really?
wants to know is Photoshop OS up to date?
Hey, you know.
No, definitely
You know
not.
what?
Super old.
You know what though? In all seriousness, if that's really the case, if you've like started to get away from Windows specific software and you found something that works on Linux, you should come on my show and talk about that.
Sure. Why not? I mean, as soon as I get my video done, because that way I can do promotion.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I don't want to steal your thunder, but what I'm saying is like that's really.
Hey, Noah, I'll come on your show and I'll do it.
Yeah, just talk about how Michael doesn't need to use Windows.
Exactly.
That's
I'll do
perfect.
it in third person for Michael.
Perfect.
What Michael would say here, Noah, is actually, I never booted Windows. I used it in a VM.
Shut your
actually-
face. Oh, you
Alright,
actually
go
shut your
10 seconds.
face. I appreciate that for a few seconds.
You're very hostile.
Yeah, he's
Hostile.
very angry today. And we've done nothing
Hey.
but treat him respectfully this entire time.
And
Take a breath.
we now have a new
Alex, I'll
clap.
take that for lies for $9.
But
He's trying to earn his $9 back.
we now have a new clap. Yeah, we can't make a noise. We just have to go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't.
The way you can sync the video better.
Yeah, exactly. Oh wow, wow.
Huh? What?
I think that was me.
No, that is what's his name? The guy. What's his name? Starts with Z.
Z.
I haven't talked to him in like I don't remember. Come on now, you know who I'm talking about. Squeaky guy.
Skooky.
No, like squeaky. Little
Oh,
duck.
Xerox.
Xerox. Yeah, Xerox. Yeah, whatever happened to that guy?
I don't know.
Who's Xerox?
I haven't talked
the
to
guy
him
that
in like 6 months or something.
You what?
I haven't talked to him about 6 months.
He's the guy that used to be in the Momo room, and he would say this. I disagree. And so I made a recording of it and put it on one of those little doohickeys that you put in like the kid stuffed animals.
Yeah.
Is that the same as a thingamabob?
Yeah.
Yes. And what
Or whatchamacallit?
Yeah, whatchamacallit as well.
Whatchamacallit, whatchamajigget.
All right, let's do it.
All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it now. All right, so
You finally ready, Michael?
Yeah, please. Tell us you're ready.
I don't know what I did this week, so we're just gonna guess But yeah, let's go.
You don't know what you did this week. Why is that not surprising?
Because I do so
Ryan, would
many.
you please-
I
would
do
you
so
please write
more.
something
I do
for the
so many
child?
things that all you guys don't understand because you can't comprehend the level of complexity that it is. So it requires a lot.
Maybe Michael, could you or Ryan,
Talk
could
about
you
what?
please write something for the child to say so he has something.
Yeah, I got this.
Talk about the what?
I'll put your notes in there, Mike.
Wait, talk about the what?
Don't
Do
worry about
his
it. I got
homework
you.
for him.
You have to tell me.
The adults are going to.
I bought a stupid stool. Thanks. That wasn't this week, so we're not doing that. Wasn't
Don't
this
say
week.
anything else. Just say that. What did you do this week? I bought a
What
stupid
you should
stool
have,
this week.
what
and
you
then
should have
that's it.
typed there was, hang on a minute. You should have typed. Oh, where's me? Whoa, what happened there? Right, hang on a minute. So what we've got is click, enter. Now you won't get it if it doesn't mean the same English.
What is that not? What is?
Because that's
Pretty
what a
sure
stool
that
is in
word's the
English.
same in English as it is in your English.
How does that not translate? What would that normally be?
Well, no, because when you go to the doctor, sometimes you have to take a stool sample, and that's what a stool is. So the English people would get the joke; the Americans wouldn't.
No, we would. We just don't. We don't use that as a normal turn of phrase or vernacular. So
I mean, I do.
you use stools all the
Absolutely.
How often do you have to talk about stools?
Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm run to the bathroom. I'm gonna, like, never mind. We should probably stop this conversation. Before this goes I don't think.
This is in the unedited version, so the patrons get to enjoy whatever that was.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we should talk about this anymore.
Okay, so
All right, now that we've gotten that out of the way.
And a patron's going to get that earlier thing that I said then
what other thing?
about when we were talking about YouTube people. and
No,
what they should do.
only after the short screenshot. Everything before that wasn't managed.
Oh, cool. Whew. That's only those live.
All right,
Yeah.
let's go.
All right, ready to start?
Yeah, go 2 seconds. Wait.
Waiting.
Now go 2
2
seconds.
seconds is up. Okay, now we're gonna start the 2 seconds. All right. Stool 1, 2. Here we go. Welcome to episode 152 of Destination Linux. This is a podcast about using, learning, sharing our passion for Linux and open source. Whether you're a noob, a master suitor, we welcome you. My name is Noah, and with me today are the $9 half-sitting, half-standing stools of Linux, Ryan, Michael, and Zeb. Zeb, how has your week been, and what have you wasted $9 on?
Well, thankfully, I haven't wasted $9 at all because
That's
we've
good.
been putting the finishing touches to Peppermint 10 Respin. And it's very, very close to being made available. And there may very well be an early Christmas present for our forum users and fans out there. So, yeah, been a pretty hectic week.
So what's coming in Peppermint 10 that you can tease people with in this respin?
Carl Schneider wallpaper.
There you go. Carl Schneider wallpaper. I mean, that's good. Are you guys going to have an updated kernel in the respin? I assume updated
I
package.
couldn't possibly say, even for my wonderful friends here at Destination Linux, I would get kicked off the team if I was to
But it's
spill the
exciting.
beans.
That's what you're getting at, right?
It's very, very good.
All right.
Michael, what have you wasted $9 on this week?
I'm so glad that we put this in the show for some reason. I
Sure.
hate you guys.
You're welcome.
So, I bought a stool that is a ergo stool. It's like this thing, and if you can on the video, you can see it. But basically, it's like a stool, except it has like chair functionality where it goes up and down with like a lever and stuff. And I hate you guys.
Also known as a chair.
And I got it for $9, which is a really good deal, even if they want to give me a hard time about it.
Is it a good deal if you get a stool that has no armrests and no back?
That's what stools are for. That's called a chair. Otherwise,
Well,
what
he's
are you
just
talking
saying
about?
that maybe for $12 you could have got one that had a back and like some armrests.
Yeah.
No,
and
because
you sit down and
I hate you guys. All right. Anyway,
what
so
else have you been up to this week?
hey, Ryan, what have you been up to this week other than trolling me?
Does he need something
Aren't
else?
you going to tell us about the lug?
No, you don't deserve to know anything else.
You tell us about the lug. We're
No.
interested.
I don't
We're
care.
taking your stool away.
We're gonna We'll take your stool away. Well, he'll fall over because
we'll just push you over.
Standing position.
This is such a stupid intro.
Hey, you're the one that bought the stool. We're just talking about
Yeah, but you didn't. Why is this even put into the show? Like, it's not. It's a great deal. It's $9 free shipping. How could you freak out about that? It's like,
when it's around in a year, then we'll agree that it was maybe not such a bad waste of money. Anyway, tell us about this lug.
Yeah, tell us about the lug.
It's a group where people meet to talk about.
You guys are making me edit so much.
No, we're not. We're trying to drag you back on task, but you're distracted by.
I took the stool to the lug, of course, naturally. Why else would you have a lug meeting other than taking a stool to the thing? So really, it was really cool to have the lug because we changed the way we're doing it. Instead of doing we used to do like where it was just going to restaurants and hanging out kind of thing. This meeting was at a local library because they have this. I found out this one library has a free conference room meeting thing where you just reserve the room and that's it.
That's nice.
Yeah, so that was awesome. And in that meeting, this was like the first time we ever did it that place. So people brought in like things that they worked on for work and like explained certain like their workflows and stuff like that. So I learned a lot about Proxmox, and I showed them how I did Kdenlive stuff for the show and all kinds of different stuff. And it was really interesting. And I actually got to try out a keyboard that has Cherry MX Blues because I have Browns and I never tried Blues before, and they basically feel the same, but it does have like a different feeling with the sound of the click. You do notice it a lot more. Although I didn't want to put it into the, I can't get a Blues because then it would be in the recordings all the time. So anyway, it was really fun and I liked it, and I also like my $9 stool.
There you go.
Ergo stool, to be specific.
I'm glad that you got your money's worth for your $9 stool. Ryan, what exciting and adventurous things have you been up to this week?
Well, I didn't get anything as exciting as a stool, Noah. But what I did do is release a video.
Me either.
I did do is release a video on XFCE. So we have a fantastic group on Telegram for Destination Linux that's well over 1,000. One of the biggest Linux groups out there on Telegram, which is awesome. So if you're not a part of it, you need to join. But some people were talking about they wanted to get into XFCE, but they felt when they, boot it up, it just looks too old. They want some of the modern features that they see in things like KDE or Cinnamon Desktop and those type of things. So what I did is I put a video out there showing some of the tweaks and customizations that I do in XFCE to make it look modern. Now, people like Michael and others watching the video who are very specific about their design elements, because Michael will tell you I'm in no way a designer. I'm not good at it.
Yeah, he spent about $9 on his theme. That's about it.
Yeah, about $9 on my theme. They may go in there and say, well, I like to have this is not perfectly parallel to this and that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, what the video shows is how you can customize XFCE, how you can put docs in place, how you can modernize the themes, put different icons in, do some basic things to make it look very modern. And a lot of people seem to appreciate the video out there of ways that you can make XFCE look good. But it did get me thinking, a lot of implementations of XFCE are just XFCE at its base. They don't do any modifications to it. They just kind of throw it out there and like, this is XFCE on Arch. This is XFCE on this Ubuntu-based distribution. And so that kind of does give XFCE a bad rap in a lot of situations because people are seeing it without any modifications done to it at all. And it does kind of look like it's from the 90s when you look at it without any customization. Now, Ubuntu does some good work, I think, making XFCE look pretty decent out of the box. But hopefully for those who love XFCE, the simplicity of XFCE, the ease of customization, but want something that looks a little newer, give them some options that they can play around with there in that video.
And I just want to point out as well that I think you'll get a lot more mileage out of your $9 XFCE desktop than Michael will when in 6 months' time it's sitting in that back corner that's all bare at the moment with a couple of laptops on top.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah. Accurate. But he's going to donate those laptops.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. We're going to see those gone soon. So Noah, what have you been up to?
Well, I got my Synology disk station in. I got it set up, and the interface is it is out of this world. The ability to to get encrypted RTSP camera feeds into the NVR itself, and then to have the kind of mobile support that they have, and also I found Synology support to be absolutely fantastic. I had a weird thing that happened to me. Interestingly enough, the day it came on Tuesday, right before I go talk about it on the air, I go on Ask Noah Show and I give a full review of this thing, and I gave it pretty high praise because it's a really good box. And I get off the air and I look at my phone and I have like 12 missed alerts, and I open my notifications up and it says motion detected at front door, motion detected here, motion. I went, okay, wait a minute. How am I getting motion alerts from my NVR that's sitting behind a firewall? This thing must be going through some sort of traversal server. So I go into the settings, can't find anything about push notifications over a traversal service, and I'm like, well, this is terrifying. It's communicating with Synology's servers, and it doesn't give me control over it. So I opened a support ticket with them, and I said, hey, how is this working? And the guy actually sent me the white paper on exactly how Synology push notifications work, and it's so it generates an encryption key and it's sending it to the server, and then that is paired with an encryption key to the app, and it explains how all of this stuff works. And then at the very end, it shows me exactly where the option is to turn it off or disable it if you don't want any connected services back to Synology. And I went, great. Now that I know how it works, I'm perfectly comfortable leaving it on. No video goes there. It's encrypted. I can turn it off at any time, and it's basically just events, and you can see what the event package contains. That event packet contains, motion at and then camera name. Like, that's fine. I don't mind if that encryptedly goes to Synology and then back to my app. That's fine. Like, this company is fantastic, and it is mind-blowing to me that not more people are using them. And so I have a bunch of these that I have ordered now, and I've got these 2020 Xs 2025s that I'm putting all over my house and all outside of my house, so that I can have cameras everywhere, and then I can just pull them up. And I bought the biggest license pack that Synology offers, and I'm throwing cameras at it right and left and putting them all over the city and seeing if I can pull them back in at my house. And so far, I have not been able to break this box. So I'm really
putting them all over the city. I don't think you're supposed to do that, Noah.
That's so I thought about it, but I wanted to keep track of the best deals on sit-stand stools, and the only way to do that is to bring little IP cameras and set them around, and just watch for a sale, and hopefully I'll find one that goes on sale for $9 or less.
You find them on garage sales normally?
Yeah, I have cameras at every garage sale.
Now let me ask you something, Noah. Besides the looking for sales on a good stool.
Yeah,
I don't regret the purchase of the Ergo stool. I do regret telling you.
You will by the time we're done with you. Continue, Ryan.
Synology is the backup solution that I used prior to you recommending FreeNAS. And now with the FreeNAS server, I have a lot of power and a lot of control.
Yes.
But Synology is and it works on Linux, has a very complex and great backup system in place for Linux machines and other operating systems as well. Have you tried that out? Has this convinced you enough in what they've done here with the cameras that you may be looking at this as a backup solution as well?
I considered it until the default option was ButterFS, and my second option was ext4. And while I don't have anything against ext4, suffice to say I'm not real hip on ButterFS. And the fact is, like, Synology, and if you had one, then you know what I'm talking about when I say their web UI is second to none. Like, you feel like you're at a desktop operating system, what it feels like. And so their web UI is great. But if I actually wanted to trust that my data is going to be there for the next 50 years, I want that sucker on ZFS.
Interesting. So if they added a ZFS option, would that change your mind entirely?
Maybe. If they added a ZFS option and there were people that rolled it out to the scale that that FreeNAS has done, that IX System has done. I mean, you have installations that are, hundreds of petabytes, spread up across multiple machines, and, it's powering museums and city governments and, state governments. And that's the track history that FreeNAS has. Synology, I think, is a great choice if you want a pre-box solution that's less than $500 and you want to pull it out and you just want to have a NAS that you can rely on and trust that it will be on your premises and be mostly secure and mostly reliable. I think the Synology is a great way to go. I think if you want the best storage solution out there, you go with FreeNAS every time. I just don't think that FreeNAS doesn't have anything like Surveillance Station like Synology has. And frankly, after looking at ExactVision and some $10,000-$15,000 solutions, the truth is the Synology NAS with Surveillance Station is actually a better product. It's more reliable. It's more versatile. There's lower cost of ownership. The licensing makes way more sense. You buy these you buy this little license pack what's stupid is you can't buy it online. You actually have to purchase this physical thing, and then you open this little flap up, and there's a little key in there that you type, and then you get access to another 8 cameras. And so you can buy a bunch of these and you can add them. But the thing that I really like about it is that you can transfer them to other stations. So it's nice. You buy it for life. Now I have 8 cameras. I can put it on whatever Synology NAS I decide to run. If I wanted to combine them, I could have 8 over here and 8 over there and 8 over there, and then pull them all into one NAS. It's just a phenomenal way to set the licensing up, and nobody else has anything even close to this. So
now, we were talking about the disaster that is things like the Ring camera, and we've seen it all over the news recently of these devices getting hacked, people tormenting people's kids with them, pretending to rob people, all this stuff going on where it's just it's so insecure that people are just going out there and hacking them for fun.
Right.
When you compare the fact that in the Synology setup with you and your experience makes a lot of sense. These run, the power I think is over Ethernet. It's power over Ethernet for the cameras.
That's
so
right.
As long as you have Ethernet running into those spots of your home, you could set it up. But the draw for things like Blink and Ring is their Wi-Fi cameras with 18 650 batteries in the back or something along those lines. You put them up and they're Wi-Fi connected. Is there anything like that for your consumer that doesn't want to run wires and everything else through their home that you found comparable in all this research yet?
Not really. There is Axis does make cameras that tie into Zigbee, not Zigbee. What's the other one? One of those protocols for automation stuff, but they Wi-Fi cameras just really aren't a thing. They exist clearly, but as far as professional installation where you actually want to rely on these things, the cameras that I'm buying, this Axis 2025, I expect that camera to last me 10 or 15 years. If you look at the past products that Axis has made, they're 10 to 15 year devices. I just read a paper that came out that was talking about how 2008 was a year where Axis wasn't sure if they were going to be able to hold their market. And now look where we are. We're in 2019 and they're still on top. So they're 10 plus years devices. There's nobody, and I mean nobody, that's going to have their Ring camera after 10 years, right? The API is going to get deprecated. The Ring is going to go out of business. They're going to get bought out by somebody else. The app isn't going to be, something is going to happen, and nobody's going to have those cameras in 10 years, and they're all going to be swapping them. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. If you want to buy,
they were already bought out by Google.
No, there you go, and it's going to get bought out again. It's just, I don't believe that IoT technology is here to stay. I think it's disposable, and so if you want to waste money on it, then you knock yourself out. And if you, like with the Ring doorbell specifically, not only are there a bunch of privacy concerns, but they don't even let you get access to the raw video feed. You don't get access to that. You have to go through their stupid server and their stupid app. If you want to tie it into like Home Assistant, or you want to tie it into the Synology NVR, or you want to have one central place to look at all your cameras, well, guess what you can't do? Well, you can't do that with Ring, because you have to go through their stupid app and their stupid servers, and they'll store all your stuff, and then they'll give the police access to it without a warrant, and then they'll store all of that stuff unencrypted and give access to whoever it is they want because of third-party doctrine. I really have a problem with the way and the direction that home automation is going. And it's exciting to me that there are companies out there and there are solutions out there for people that want to do it right.
So for the NVR specifically, Synology software, when I've used it, you pretty much have access, like you said, it's like a desktop and all the apps are there. Did you buy a specific Synology NVR solution, or did you just get a Synology disk station and ran that software off?
Yep, they have they make one actual NVR,
the 1218.
Yeah, exactly. They make the 1218, which is an actual NVR, and the only thing based on my research that separates the NVR from the disk station is on the back of the NVR 1218 there's an HDMI output, and so you can actually watch the live streams. Of course, it's the exact same feed that you get by just going into the surveillance station web app, but if you wanted a physical HDMI connection, that's one thing that the NVR does. Oh, and it does have a COM port on the back too, so you can tie it into some control stuff. But the software that runs on the NVR 1218 is DSM, Disk Station Manager, which is the exact same software that runs on every other disk station. So I got the 718 Plus because the NVR 1218 will support up to 4 cameras. The 718 Plus will support up to 32 cameras.
Wow.
And it was $180 more. So I would rather have the bigger one that supports more cameras, but, there's nothing wrong with the 1218 if you're looking for a small thing. Any Synology will work. Surveillance Station is an application that you install on the Synology, and it's just in their app center. And it's a free app, and it runs on all of them, to the best of my understanding. And if you're saying to yourself, man, it sure feels weird to buy a NAS and then install a third-party app that's maybe made by Synology but seems like an afterthought, and that's going to be the best NVR that money can buy, I was there with you. I was a little skeptical, and then it showed up, and then I realized this is ridiculous. It's amazing to me this hasn't taken off, because Synology should they shouldn't give up on NASAs because they do a good job. But in addition to doing NASAs, they should really focus on surveillance, because they would wipe their competition. They would wipe the floor with their competition.
And
this
the more
is so
people
much better than
could probably bring the prices down, because that's the biggest hurdle.
$200, man. I mean, how much more can you bring?
By the time you had the disk station and the camera in there, you're looking at close to, one camera and a disk station is going to be $600, and you're honestly competing in an arena where people can go in there and buy an $80 Blink camera that comes with the base station. And yes, there's the privacy, and we get that, right? We get why you need to spend more money here, but I think your average consumer is just going to go, well, $80, I'm up and running.
Yeah, there's also actually a camera that you can connect with your Wi-Fi that's like, it's mountable through like magnets, so you can put it on any surface that's metal, and it's like $25 or something.
It's mad. Yeah. It is massive business, because it was actually Amazon who bought Ring for just over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Mental.
I guess what I would tell somebody that's considering that is, first of all, if you are interested in home security, you should ask yourself, are you comfortable putting cameras in your house that somebody else may get access to? And if the answer to that question is yes, I don't care if the camera's in my house because somebody may get access to it, then go ahead and buy the Blink, go ahead and buy the Ring, go ahead and buy whatever internet connected camera you want. Don't change the default password if you don't want to. It's fine. And you'll wind up on some search engine that will stream your video if you want to do that. The alternative to that is spend a little bit extra money. It'll cost you a little bit more, but it'll be the last surveillance systems that you buy for 10 years plus. It will be expandable, because even if I upgrade the cameras as camera technology changes, I can still use the same disk station. I'm unlikely to ever want more, cameras than 32 in my house, for crying out loud. And you're supporting a company that is creating on-premises equipment. There's no subscription fee. There's no AWS servers. There's no place to send your videos to. It's all on your premises. So it comes down to a privacy thing and a longevity thing. And if your answer is, I want the cheapest, quickest, dirtiest solution, I don't care about my privacy, then by all means, buy a Wisecam and stick it in your front door and wave to the Chinese.
Well said.
I mean, seriously, that's that's where you're at.
All right,
click the button, Michael. Jeez.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. Then I realized that he muted it. Remember, he's all
darn it!
Yeah.
Got that thing going.
Right, there we go.
I muted
How are we supposed to know how to do the show?
Here.
Yeah, exactly. You do depend on me for everything.
No, that's okay, Michael. Because what you got to do is sit on your stool, and when you're ready to click, just bob.
Yeah, can you bob?
I hate you guys.
You love us.
Okay, so
go 2 seconds, Noah.
I decide when we go.
This power trip he's on.
Not on your stool, you don't.
Yes, I do. With the power of the $9 stool, I decide. It's like the power. It's like the power of Grayskull.
You can't even see the $9 stool. It's behind your chair. Just so you know.
I know. I said that in the. I showed it when you insisted on mocking me in the show. I showed it.
Yeah.
We did not.
The only reason I point that out is I just wanted to make sure that you understand that you spent $9 and nobody can even see it. Anyway, so yeah, ready for the ad?
Oh, we hurt his feelings, guys.
No, he's just gonna get the stool into the camera
and put it into the corner where it's going to live for the rest of its life.
Yeah. It's gonna hold laundry.
Whoa! What's he gone?
You might have heard a kid scream. That looked like a run for. I heard a kid scream. No, it's just me and you, Zeb. Go 2 seconds. There it is. Oh, Noah ran off like something was wrong. I hope everything's okay.
You're muted.
I heard, but I didn't see it happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
Brilliant, Noah.
Okay,
How much did you pay for that, though?
Yeah, how much did you pay for that one?
$8.95.
It's not true. Not remotely true. Not remotely true. No,
Michael
it
has
isn't.
done his research on stools. He knows the price of that stool.
Not remotely true.
He's like, that's a XE2550 stool with power
Windows.
pump.
The best part about this is that they thought something was wrong and that they were worried, and all you did is go troll
Ran
me
out so
more.
fast. I was like, that's a dad. Oh my god, my kid just fell. Run.
But no,
They
he had to
did- they
just.
probably
He had to
Well, it's
just
pretty
get us-
close. It was an opportunity to troll Michael. That's pretty
They
close.
just
to the kid.
fell off
But-
the stool
but,
because
okay.
he grabbed it from them.
So
Fell off the stool.
by you having this thing in the view, all that you're doing is proving that also stools are useful because you have one too. And
Yeah, but that's a real man stool.
no, it isn't.
Also,
that
here's
that
the other
not
thing, too.
only
This is
Look
for
how
my children.
solid the
See how it's
base
all colored on? That's because my children
no.
have this tool. Are you a child, Michael?
See, it's also got. You could see that it's also got like the up and down mechanism and stuff. So he actually has basically the same thing I have, but except
For his
except.
Except I didn't pay $9 for it. That's a good one, and it's for my children. But yeah,
So-
Whoa! How much did it cost though? What's
I don't know. It was probably like
So
$600.
my question now, guys, is
$600?
who's really
This is
good
knowledge.
with who's really good with GIMP?
No
Who's
one.
good with GIMP?
No one.
Michael.
Lance.
Okay, because what you can do is just sit still. What? Stop there. Don't move. Somebody now needs to draw a parrot at the back of Michael's shoulder because it's sitting on his shoulder pad.
What?
Or a little
It
penguin
looks like
sitting
you're
there.
like, you know, no, you have a bird. Go get the bird and put it on the stool.
Oh god. No, the actual birds are gone.
Where's
Oh, hang on. He's just gone to get a bird. I don't believe this.
The actual birds are gone. As you couldn't hear them for a while, right?
Noah's footage is frozen. I wonder if he tripped over the video wire.
Let's hope not.
We only made it through what have we been up to this week, by the way. And it's 2:00.
It was meant to be a little 5-minute snippet.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're up to is super long.
Well, you know. We like to talk around here.
Yeah, it was. I was so happy that you decided to troll the crap out of me for a stool.
Did my camera stop working?
Yeah.
Yes,
Is it on?
it's because
Is that
you're.
the-
It's
You must have
because
tripped over it.
it's because you're a noob.
Now Michael's going personal. He's so upset.
No, it's because he's a noob.
You're a
Oh,
noob.
now
Right,
we've all got to
everybody-
stop our videos because we're in the wrong order.
That's why he's got the Ask Noob show.
That's why I got the. I should name it that.
You're actually very like also
Yeah, you're blurred.
Blurred.
You're, like,
blur and also like very little movement. I don't know what happened.
you're fragmented.
What is going on? Now I'm all alone.
Yeah, and it looks like about 360 camera, not
Yeah.
720.
Really? Okay, hold on.
It looks-
Hold on.
it-
Hold on. Nobody start the video yet until I
It-
figure this out.
It
The
makes
best part of this is the only people who will understand why there's stools with birds all of a sudden popping up on them is patrons.
that's not true.
No one else is going to see all these.
What is going on here? Like now my whole Zoom client is all like. Okay, wait. Now it's
Maybe you
back.
should be on like an adult distro. You'd have.
Oh, stop it.
We could say your client took a dump, but we won't.
It took a stool.
All right. How's that? Does that look better?
I've seen better, but it's good. I
The
mean,
correct answer was yes. No, it looks amazing, but you know.
you look amazing. Your camera, however. Oh, that's my cue.
Except it's not you next, it's...
No, it was.
Oh, yes, it is you next. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
second. Second best looking.
And now Zeb.
It's in order of who's best looking.
No, that's not the actual order. That's not how we do this.
I thought that's how we did it.
That's not how we do this.
Pretty close to how we do it.
That's how we should do it. Then we're in the right order.
It bothers
Michael
me
needs
that
to
that
do
happened. I just want to point that out.
It bothers me that it happened.
Yeah.
Zeb's third best.
Messed up
looking.
my editing.
Right. Now you're gonna have to deal with. Hey, nobody even commented on the fact that Tux is now on the Tux in
Oh,
his
we
Christmas
saw it.
apparel.
It's just your camera.
Yeah. I also have a tux on my stool too.
Well, no, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Mine's bigger.
I feel like I
That's
need
true.
a stool.
That's true. Yours is bigger.
I don't have a stool
Like
anywhere in my
put
house.
it even closer. This is
They're
ridiculous.
for children. That's so cute.
Every now and then, I have a feeling that every now and then he's just gonna go pet it like that.
Yeah, sure. And then because it's ergo, like the penguin can like do this, like that's the whole point of having the ergo stool, right?
Well, that's kind of what Michael
Just
does
whatever
that.
you do, just don't talk about Cloud's agnostics tutorials.
Why?
Stool tutorials.
That was so bad that you made me cringe.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was that bad. All right, I'm ready when you are, Michael.
Right. Go 2 seconds.
This episode of Destination Linux is sponsored by DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform. It's optimized to make managing and scaling apps easy with their intuitive API, multiple storage options, integrated firewalls, load balancers, and, well, there's a lot more. You can get all of this plus access to their world-class customer support for, get this now, as low as $5 per month.
That's free, like, Noah. That's free.
It basically, I mean, just get like one less Happy Meal for your kids, let them starve for a day, and you can get a DigitalOcean server. That's all you have to do. You can use their flexible pricing structure, and you can get that down to as low as 0.7 cents per hour. As Ryan would say,
that's darn near free.
That's darn near free. DigitalOcean also has 2,000 cloud agnostic tutorials to help you stay up to date. Why? Because they want you to learn how to administrate the Linux server, and they just say, hey, we have the best pricing structure out there. We have the best servers out there. We have the most data centers available. Why wouldn't you choose us? We'll just give the tutorials away for you for free. So you can go there and check out those 2,000 cloud agnostic tutorials, start getting an idea of how to spin up your server, and figure out how you can best spend your $5 or 0.7 cents per hour with the latest open source software languages and frameworks. And then it gets even better because you're a listener to the best Linux podcast ever. You're going to get 1 month free with a $50 credit. All you have to do is go to our special website. It's do.co/DL. That's do.co/DL, and then you'll get started on DigitalOcean with that $50 credit, again, by going to do.co/DL. And a huge thanks to DigitalOcean for sponsoring this episode of Destination Linux.
I somewhat approve of your decision to ad-lib.
Oh, what did I say?
Starve his children.
You didn't reference anything about $9, so I was disappointed.
Oh, well, I could have. It didn't seem appropriate with the place that actually pays us money.
No, I agree. You shouldn't.
But I mean,
I'm just trolling you back because you have a stool now.
We could have. Now, we missed an opportunity to troll him on that.
Yeah, actually.
Like if you're somebody who wastes money like Michael on a $9 stool, imagine spending that money on something that's actually useful.
You could have had almost 2 DigitalOcean servers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you didn't take the opportunity, so therefore I'm going to just edit everything.
I messed up. Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what you always do when I say something you don't like. It's like edit.
No, actually, if you hear me doing it while you're talking, it's usually because you go.
Oh. Good thing I don't work in radio or something like that where I'd be cognizant of that.
All right, Ryan, go 2 seconds.
You're not wrong.
This week in our community feedback, Martin writes in to say, hello, gentlemen. I'd kick off the mandatory, love the show, Michael is the best, what? Etc., etc., etc. But let me just get down to business. Somebody listens to this show quite often. I love it. After running Fedora Silverblue as my main distro for the past year, I decided to make the switch to Arch to feel as cool as Ryan. That is how it's done. After testing out a few different Arch-based distros, I decided to go with Endeavor OS due to its simplicity and minimalism and, quite frankly, speed. I originally installed GNOME on top of the distro, but I've been playing with XFC for the past few days and mostly love it. My question is this. XFC might be fast and light on system resources, but it feels like I'm running a DE from 1995. No offense. I've played around with a bunch of different themes and found a look I like, but I hate the whisker menu. Is there a good replacement for it? A way to make me feel like I haven't jumped back in time every time I hit the super key? Love the great show. Keep up the great work. Proud patron, Martin. And he also has a website here, which he didn't specifically say to shout out, but he didn't say not to, which is Nerdy Legion, which is a Star Wars kind of fan group thing. So part of the Nerdy Legion, which is pretty cool. So we kind of covered this a little bit at the beginning, and this email wasn't. We had a very similar ask in our Telegram chat, but I wanted to cover this email here as well to say that's one of the reasons I did the video. But as far as replacing the Whisker menu, I found that really interesting because I love the Whisker menu. I find it to be one of the best menus out there. It has search functionality built in, which is brilliant. You can move the search bar where you want. You have lots of customization options to add in descriptions, remove names, put generic names, put your icons, the hover support in the menu for just hovering your mouse over. So I would recommend, if you haven't, check out my video. But one of the best things about customizing XFCE is everything's a right click. So if you want to customize the Whisker menu, right click on it, go to properties, all your options to change it are there. You can also add transparency. Maybe you don't like the color scheme or things like that. You can add transparency to that menu. You can make it blend into your background, for instance. There is a ton of customization options out there for XFCE, so consider checking that out.
Now, on that, isn't there also an application called Menu Libra that works at editing the Whisker menu? So if you really don't like it, I'm sure you could dive into that. It's made by the same team that does XFCE.
Sean Davis.
Certainly Sean Davis of Blue Saber. And I think it's called Menu Libra. And you can literally change virtually anything you want.
Well, it doesn't change. It doesn't change the customization of like the appearance of it. It changes like the fundamentals of it, like each entry. It can edit the entries. It can like recategorize.
Right. Okay.
Yep. But you could, for instance, there are plenty of menus out there, and I don't use them. But isn't there one called Fish or something along those lines, Michael, that you can do a shortcut key and it pops up and allows you to basically bypass the menus out there?
If you want to get rid of the menus, you can use like what's basically what KRunner is, which is an app launcher. And there's a lot of those like Albert, Synapse, Kupfer. There's a bunch of them. And they all have like this. You hit a shortcut and it pops up and you can do all kinds of things like that way. I actually prefer that method over the main menu system because I like the main menu just to kind of like dig around to see what was by default. But if I'm going to be using the stuff that I want to use, I'm just going to use the launchers tools like KRunner or Synapse, Kupfer, and Albert.
And you can install any of those in XFCE. Just because it's a KDE app, you could still run it right in XFCE.
Yeah, in fact, you can actually install KWin as the window manager if you want to replace that and still use XFCE to do everything else. Because XFCE is very modular, so it allows you to do all kinds of stuff like that.
Yep.
And up next in the comment section, what feedback? What? I don't care.
You should leave that in. Just saying.
What?
What? $9.
Here's the thing. When it's a smooth screw up, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. People think, man, that Michael guy screws up cool.
Yeah, sure. That's totally going to stay in
because
it's cool. It's cool like my stool.
Here.
We just named this episode Stool.
No, we're not.
Every time things get off track, I'm just going to look at you and appreciate you, Tux.
I'm doing the media, Ryan. If you want it to be called Destination the next episode, Stalled. Yep.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you.
Luckily, I get to decide what it's named, so no. All right.
Would you tell us what Ethan has to say, please? He's waiting patiently for us to respond to him.
Okay. So Ethan has to say, "Hello, Michael. I love the stool that you have in your office. It is so fantastic." Apparently, that's not what happened. That's not at all what happened. Okay.
It's not what the email says.
Can you please just read Ethan's comment?
Okay. So up next in the feedback, Ethan writes in to say, "Hello, DL chaps. I've been listening to the show for a while now, and it is by far the best show out there. I wanted to chime in on the Zorin OS conversation and debate over the opt-in versus opt-out. I don't think it's moral to assume consent based on someone's lack of patience. I think it's important to maintain a principled and unified stance about telemetry, especially if we are going to be so vocally opposed to what Google and Microsoft do. I don't think it's bad." You got me good on that one. I didn't read it, and then I read it.
Micro stool. We put micro stool. Zeb put micro stool in the chat.
That's pretty legit.
Oh my goodness.
That's just better than if he had read it.
Okay.
What's a micro stool?
Micro stool. It's so ergonomic that it's tiny.
Here, you want a micro stool? Here, I'll show you a micro stool. Oh wait,
We're putting way too much effort into this joke.
there we
Look,
go.
a micro stool.
Look, a micro stool. There you go, Michael.
That's covered up by the name tag, by the way.
The editing is going to be fantastic for you this week. The show will be out Monday, right?
Oh no, definitely not. If you
giggling the whole show now.
I'm just saying it's covered by the name tag, Noah. If you care.
Name tag? What are you talking about?
Tux
Steve
is covered.
in chat says Destination Linux 152. Michael doesn't give a micro stool. That could be the title. That's perfect. Oh my gosh.
I hate
There
you
we
guys.
go. All right.
I hate you guys.
You ready?
I'm ready. Are
All
you
right.
ready?
All
You gonna
right.
tell us about what you purchased next week? Because we won't make fun of you. we
No.
I mean, that's Ryan speaking for himself. I make no promises.
That's why I'm saying no.
promise. Could you please read
Okay.
what Ethan has to say?
I do think it's bad that when they do it, but a good when.
Nailed it.
That wasn't an email. No.
Nailed it. I hate you guys.
How do you spell that exactly?
What my?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, it starts with a B.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. You got it. You got it.
Okay.
You got it.
And we decided to read it on the show. So important. Poor Ethan. He answers question.
He says, I do think it's bad when they do it, but good when we do it is a message that would resonate with a lot of users who might switch to Linux or the current user base. Opt out by default with the opt in option is preferable in my opinion. Blah, 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 blah.
Who wrote that in there?
Noah?
I just want to know how to spell that.
Okay, we're children. Okay, we're gonna.
What is wrong with us?
Okay,
What is he, a Gungan?
he's a
What is a
Skeksis.
Gungan?
Please not go to.
What?
Come on, Michael.
Oh, that's Jar Jar.
Gungan from
Jar
Star
Jar.
Wars.
That's Jar Jar's thing.
No, Star Wars, not Star Trek.
I said Jar Jar. That's Jar Jar's thing. Anyway,
We still got a stool.
we used to cancel the show. Okay. Keep up the great work, Ethan from Canada. Now we can just normally talk because I'm editing all the crap out of that.
You might as well just redo it because it would be much easier
Would it? I don't know. They're
to
gonna
do one run that's right versus trying to do 15 stops. I'm just saying.
probably not wrong. Up next in the feedback section, Ethan writes in to say, hello, DL chaps. I've been listening to the show for a while now, and it is by far the best Linux show out there. Thank you very much. I wanted to chime in and on the Zorin conversation, the Zorin OS conversation, and the debate over opt-in versus opt-out. I don't think it's moral to assume consent based on someone's lack of patience. I think it's important to maintain a principled and unified, what was it supposed to be? Stance? I hate you guys. I hate you guys. By the way, patrons, they put maintain a principled and unified stool about telemetry. And essentially,
What is happening? Oh my god.
It's got to go in outtakes.
I don't even know what it was supposed to say, so I couldn't ignore it.
We gathered as much, Michael.
I hate you guys so much. So much.
Well, hang on a minute. You're the one who bought the stupid bloody stool.
It was $9. That's a good deal.
You bought the bloody stool.
It was $9. Okay.
No, it keeps adding props. Come on, guys, we got a show to do. This is ridiculous.
Hey, Michael, do you think you could just read their email as it's written rather than screwing it up all the time?
Yeah, if you could stop changing everything and try to make it.
I haven't changed anything one time in this email, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I
believe you.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's hilarious whoever did, but
I believe you.
It wasn't me.
I believe you.
What is it supposed to be? That was a perfect.
I couldn't remember what the word was, so I couldn't skip it.
Stance.
I do. I know that now.
Well, you could have read stool and just kept going.
And you would have, all of you would have busted out the exact same way. It doesn't matter.
Maybe. No, we're professionals, Mike.
Did you just read this and quit with all the
The
editing?
worst thing was that Ryan and I were busting out before you even got there.
Oh, I did change it. I added blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to get through this finally. Okay.
Hey, we're only an hour.
We're sorry, Ethan. We're sorry, Ethan.
I'm not sorry.
They're sorry. I'm sorry for them, Ethan. Okay.
Not sorry.
We're having a good time.
Are we?
I am.
The torture of me is the good time.
Yes. Very entertaining.
I see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So to continue on with the feedback, Ethan writes in to say, "Hello, DL chaps. I've been listening to the show for a while now, and it is by far the best Linux show out there. Thank you very much for that. I wanted to chime in on the Zorin OS conversation and debate over opt-in versus opt-out. I don't think it's immoral to assume consent based on someone's lack of patience. I think it's important to maintain a principled and unified stance about telemetry, especially." I was about to say stool on purpose, and it messed me up, made me laugh.
My God. Fifth time's the charm, Mike.
That was that time I was doing it to myself because I was about to say stool, and I was like, you know what? I'll just forget it, and then I just made myself laugh. Okay.
Chris DeLuca says, "Man, Noah's stool's getting better and better throughout the show. Keeps getting new props."
Okay.
All right. Come on.
Up next in the feedback, Ethan writes in to say, "Hello, DL chaps. I've been listening to the show for a while now, and it is by far the best Linux show out there. Thank you very much for that. I wanted to chime in on the Zorin OS conversation about the debate over opt-in versus opt-out. I don't think it's moral to assume consent based on someone's lack of patience. I think it's important to maintain a principled and unified stance about telemetry, especially if we're going to be so vocally opposed to what Google and Microsoft do. I don't think it's bad when they do it, but good when we do it is a message that that would resonate with a lot of users, and we might switch to Linux or the current user base. Opt-out versus by default, but with the opt-in option is preferable in my opinion. Keep up the great work, Ethan from Canada."
So this is an interesting take because, we've kind of gone, I don't think we've gone back and forth, but this is something in the community where a lot of people go back and forth on, should we have any telemetry within Linux? That's one of the things that makes Linux stand out. And here they're not saying remove telemetry altogether, but it should be something that you're by default opted out of versus opt-in. I think the problem that was found when these were trialed before in certain distributions where opted out was default is that people just left it there. They didn't really read the screen and they just kind of nexted and people weren't opting in. So by leaving it opting in, they were getting much more data back. Why is that data important? Well, for instance, Ubuntu says we're the most popular distro out there. They don't just say that. Most people in the community would agree that's probably the case. But do we really know? There was arguments that I was looking at back years ago between when Mint took the first spot in the distro watch tool. And people were saying, wow, why? I saw some Reddit articles saying, well, how did Mint overtake Ubuntu in being the most popular distro? And then people had to fight back and say, well, DistroWatch really isn't a measurement tool of what the most popular distro is. It's a measurement tool of what people are searching on DistroWatch. So at the end of the day, we have this incredible product that we all can feel like, wow, it's growing. I now walk through a store with all of my Linux gear on because, yes, this is how I dress in real life. And people are like, hey, I love Linux, or, my friend uses Linux, or they'll stop and have a conversation about Linux. When I first started 4 years ago, that never happened. I would walk around and you'd see them read your shirt and be like, oh, what that shirt's supposed to mean. So we feel like Linux is getting more popular, but we have no data to actually show, prove it, or tell if it's more popular. This is also a major issue in bug reporting and everything else, where we're not getting data on what are the computers people are using? Because that's where you would want your developers spending their time to enhance the machine to make sure, hey, if most of our users are using AMD CPUs, let's make sure we do some tweaks there with AMD. If most of our users are using the light version or utilizing these specific things. So there's a very big difference between the telemetry that's being captured from Linux and the telemetry that is being captured by, say, a Google or Microsoft, which is consistent and persistent across everything that you're doing, versus something that's just trying to get information on your machine, maybe what apps you have installed and that type of thing. And so I don't have a problem with it being opt-in with the option to opt out. I do have an issue if they didn't give you any options, because even Microsoft has options when you're installing it that allow you to opt out at least partially in some of the data. So, and Microsoft, by the way, is opt-in by default if you go through the installation process, but they have a big screen now that's separate from all the other screens where you can choose to untoggle all of those boxes. So to me, it's kind of a standard that people installing any OS are used to seeing and can just opt out of it.
Well, I mean, to be clear about the Microsoft thing, it says, do you want to have these speed settings, or do you want to have customizations you can change and turn it off? So they do give you the option to turn it off, but they make it where it's confusing in the sense of like, if you want to go through this really quickly, just ignore this step. So that's how they do it.
Well, yeah, and you can't turn it off entirely. For instance, in some of the options, it says, I don't remember the exact wording, but it goes from full information to Microsoft down to basic. There's no off.
Right.
So you can really, truly turn it off like you can, say, in a Linux installation. The point is that this is a pretty normal thing that if you've installed other OSs, you would be used to seeing and being used to opting out of. And I think there's a big difference here, again, in the type of data, the telemetry data being asked for here. With the Zorin OS, the issue was there was no option at all.
Right.
They were just taking the data. So, again, I think it was a misstep on their part that they're going to fix. I have no doubt, but I think there's a big difference there.
Yeah, the argument about Zorin has just made a mistake in the sense that we don't know if they did it on purpose, but we assume that they didn't do it on purpose because having conversations with them, there's no reason to imply that they would do that on purpose.
And they don't have a track history of doing stuff.
Yeah. And what's really good is I've just installed Zorin 15.1, the new release, and the question is in there, would you like to send us data?
Okay.
So you can opt in or opt out already as part of they've already fixed it as part of the installation, which is great.
That's awesome. So
that's good feedback, Ethan, because I think a lot of people do take your stance that it shouldn't exist, period. I think we're taking the stance on the idea of for Linux to really grow and for us to be able to go out there and say, hey, this Linux is really taking a part of a percentage of the market in the desktop or in the server space or anything else. We have to have some kind of data somewhere.
Yeah.
And if everybody's just opting out, then we're never going to know. It's just one of those things where it's going to look like Linux is still just a niche product.
And also trying to explain to companies and why they should support Linux when we don't have the data to say how many people are actually using Linux. They can just fall back to there's not enough people for us to care about it. And if we don't have the telemetry to understand how many are actually using it, there's really no way for us to tell them that they would do this. So the argument about whether telemetry should be done or not, that's pretty much it should be, because there's massive benefits, and as long as the choice is given to the user, there's really no issue as far as morally or ethically, because I think the opt-in versus opt-out is more of a which one feels better. But at the same time, and I agree that the opt-out, having by default an opting-in option, feels better. But at the same time, there's benefits to having the opt-in, because if people ignore it, they don't care in the first place. And if you're saying, well, they didn't read it because they still didn't care to read it, so they don't care in general. If they don't care enough to read what they're installing, they don't care about pretty much anything at that point. But they give an option to choose whether or not to do it. And I think the morals part and the ethics part is, as long as there is a choice, that it's covered in the morals and ethics. If they don't give a choice at all, that's problematic. But if they give a choice and the choice legitimately turns it off, unlike Microsoft, then there's no problem, in my opinion. And I think that and also more importantly, if someone chooses to opt out, then you get the information about they chose to opt out. If they just leave it blank, then you don't know if they didn't want it to be opted in or not. You just get nothing. So I think there's many values to having it in that structure.
So Ryder says in our patron chat, asked the question about one of the issues he had wasn't so much that Zorn was getting telemetry, but that it was pinging the server allegedly every hour. So I kind of have the same question. We covered this a little bit last week, but what are your thoughts on that? To me, this whole idea is you capture the data up front. Maybe every time I update, you grab a snapshot to see what system I'm on. But this idea that things are pinging constantly every hour, every day seems pretty over the top to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
One thing that people seem to have forgotten about, or maybe nobody ever brought it up, but Endless OS actually takes statistics on how long you have applications open and how often you use them. Now, the argument will be, well, with Endless OS, you're never connected to the internet because that's the whole point of it. You give it to somebody. But the minute you connect, it uploads all that telemetry data, and they actually gather how often you've been using the application. Now, as long as they tell you about it, I can appreciate that, because they give you this like 16 gig ISO or whatever it is. Now, if 2/3 of the software is never ever opened, then they know that the next ISO they could produce, they can perhaps change it out for something else, and they'll eventually get to learn what the users are using. But nobody made a fuss about that. So why are they making a fuss about Zorin?
Well, honestly, I didn't even know about the endless thing.
I didn't know about it either. That's why I didn't make a fuss about it. I don't think there's enough. I think there's a big community out there utilizing Zorin, and it happened to be getting super popular right at the time that this kind of information broke. Whereas Endless, I really don't know much about it, but there wasn't a huge popularity there that I've ever heard of where people would probably bring it up. It's kind of like if Ubuntu does something, it's going to blow up in the news faster than anybody else because they're so big. I mean, it's kind of a natural thing that you're going to pay more attention to it than somebody who's much, much smaller. I do feel like Ethan is right in one way, that this becomes a slippery slope. And I'm wondering if this pinging frequency is not the slippery slope of, hey, okay, we've all accepted that we can give some telemetry and this is good because it's going to give them ability to actually know who's using what they're using the system on, all the things we talked about. But now they're starting to add things like, well, let's ping every hour. Let's ping every 15 minutes. What if we add in some of this other stuff where it just starts getting into a situation where, well, we're back to Microsoft Windows?
I think it's fair to say that the telemetry should be done only in a process where you connect to their servers when you manually choose to connect to their servers. So if you install a system and you're going to be installing packages from their servers, and to do that, and at that point, totally fine. And when you update your system to get new packages from their servers, they do the same thing there. I think that's because you could decide when that happens. And as long as they give the choice between doing it or not doing it, and they structure it so that when you manually activate an update, then you get it, I think that's the best approach.
I think what we need to do is have some of the developers on either from Ubuntu or Zorin and ask them the question of what the benefit is of having things ping on a constant basis that they're hoping to achieve there. Because
Ubuntu doesn't do that, so that doesn't matter. It's
but I feel like, do we really need to ask somebody to get the answer to that? I mean, when you have something that's pinging,
well, maybe there is something that they're gaining from that why you would have to have that every hour. I don't know why you would need that information every single day.
Okay, so just playing devil's advocate for a moment, how do you tell the difference between somebody who downloaded an ISO, burned it to a flash drive, and then threw it on their desk, and the guy who's using the operating system every day, right? Like, if it's pinging every hour, that operating system is online. And again, I think all four of us agree 100% that it should be in the user's choice. But as it relates to Canonical and stuff like that, I have started sending user data in because I have talked to them and found out how valuable it is to them. And they do make decisions like, hey, we have this many million desktop Linux users. We should try this particular change before we roll out before we roll out, any particular change, and say, well, it has to be this particular way from here on out. And then they can try that in the non-LTS. And then when it doesn't work, they roll it back and go, okay, listen, we tried Wayland support. It mucked up a bunch of people's desktops in the non-LTS, so we're not going to do that in the LTS. And the only reason that they're able to make those decisions is because they have those metrics. And so if you don't provide those to the company, then they're making blind information. So I think it should be the person's choice, but I think it would be a understatement to say that there's no value, or there is little value, or we don't understand what the value is in having these machines phone home with limited information. I think I think pretty easily we can extrapolate why that's beneficial. And
I mean, statistically, the example you gave there is I don't know that statistically that's going to validate saying you need to ping every hour, because there's some users who download it, burn it to a USB, and then run it live in a live session that you wouldn't gain from something that ran every 24 hours or every couple of days, that you couldn't extrapolate that same theory out of analytically. Perhaps you're right. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like you're going to have enough of people who would be doing that's going to mess up your statistics. Maybe I'm wrong. Fair enough.
I actually think Michael's solution is probably the better one if they do want those additional metrics. When you actually run an update, it says, hi, yeah, I'm still connected and I'm still running your software. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And that would be much more acceptable. If people do it automatically, then they will automatically get the pings. Those people who do it manually, they'll manually get the pings. So then people will ask the question, oh, hang on, I've opted in, but are you going to ask me, do I want to opt in every time I do an update, which will slow the process down? So it gets all very, very messy.
If you're willing to do it in the first place, I think you're willing to do it in more. But I think you should there should be a limit to how often it's asking you, because I think doing it on any time based is unnecessary, because if they're doing it to find out what hardware you have, it is very unlikely you're going to change your hardware every hour. Even with Ryan's rolling style of getting new hardware, it is definitely not going to be every hour.
True.
So
it's at least every 30
he's close
days.
though.
Yeah, once a month maybe, but still at the same time, you're going to update your system more often typically, so that should be enough.
I agree. Good question, though, Ethan. We appreciate you sending it in.
Thank you.
Go 2 seconds, Seb.
We love hearing from our worldwide community. We have many ways for your voice to be heard. You can send us a stool sample, email, or video that may get incorporated into the show. Send your video links or emails to comments@destinationlinux.org.
Was I the only one that caught that he said send a stool sample into Destination Linux?
Michael completely missed it.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought it was hilarious.
Got it.
I wasn't listening.
Steve asked, what's the P.O. box for stool samples?
Address it to Mitchell Tunnel.
Okay, I was getting ready to do other stuff. Okay, you have to remember, I do more than just talk on this show, so I'm not always paying attention. So,
we know that.
He's getting so
We're well
sad.
aware that you're not always paying attention. That part we figured.
Well, I don't have a choice because I have to do other things that,
I'm so angry.
You
So
guys
Would you
don't
like me
have
to read it again for you, Michael?
Yeah, could you do it again? Michael's really pissed.
It depends on how you edit. I can edit it out. I don't care, but it's
Really? So you think you can take out? You can.
You would want to remove people's ability to send stool samples to us?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem very inclusive of you.
Are you going to be the one?
You can have a stool, but nobody else can participate. I see.
We're going to have it where it's going to have Zeb's doing the whole thing, and it says send us, and I'll just input like short email Zeb.
That would be funny. Yeah, we'll go with that one.
No, I don't want to do that. Just do it.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to. I don't want extra work. So let's go 2 seconds. Go 2 seconds.
We love hearing from our worldwide community. We have many ways for your voice to be heard. You can send us a short email or a video that may get incorporated into the show. Send your video links or emails to comments@destinationlinux.org.
Thank you.
And stool.
And stool. I know that's a scene, but whatever. Okay. So
Zeb's going to do the charity update.
How you feeling, Michael?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Oh, we've heard his feelings.
I'll have to get back to you. No, it's. I don't care about the feelings. I don't care about the trolling. I care about how much editing I'm gonna have to do, because you guys just hate me so much.
We love
I'm
you.
not sure that we care about that either.
It was a good purchase. Good for you.
You're muted for the rest of the show.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you congratulate him on his nice little stool there?
Yeah, after about an hour of bashing me. Yeah.
Bash you? He just questioned if.
I mean, how many
good
times
idea to spend
have you
$9?
got in a situation where you don't know whether you want to sit or stand?
Yeah, it doesn't really happen to me.
It's called being.
I pretty much always
It's called
like
caring about my back and caring about my health as an individual person.
He cares about his health.
Yeah, I don't care about your health, but I care about my health.
Yeah.
Clearly, Noah doesn't care about his health because he has some off-brand Sprite back there. So
Off-brand, but this is bubbly. What's wrong with you? What kind of backwards?
What did you do? Spend $9 on that? God.
No, I spent. Actually, I probably did. It's expensive. You only get 8 cans instead of 12. But you really don't have bubbly in your neck of the woods?
No, I've never heard of that.
We drink things like Coke.
Are you serious?
And Pepsi. And
I've never heard of that actually.
You know.
It's probably here. We just don't look. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a LaCroix competitor. Yeah.
Obviously,
but, like, it's like the popular.
Obviously, you shop at Whole Foods.
No, he's such a hipster. He's got like I don't
whatever LaCroix.
I don't even use LaCroix. I'm such a hipster. I'm gonna have bubbly instead because I like to have it bubbly. Yeah.
So
it reminds me of champagne.
I'll tell you why.
Nobody.
Listen, you self-presumptuous, stool-loving person. I like bubbly because it is available in gas stations. Okay, it's like a brand.
Of course. Sure. You hipster. You hipster. You.
He goes to Starbucks and orders a coffee and then
$9 stool buyer.
No, he orders his half calf mocha latte with just a little extra whip in it, and also make sure it's non-fat milk so that I can put my bubbly in it so it's even more special.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with you.
He has a $29 drink.
Okay.
Listen.
Now that I'm done trolling back, okay.
Thanks for shoving your money in our face.
Yeah.
Even my stool has a bubbly.
Even a stool drinks.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Let's go.
All
let's
right.
go. Okay.
All
cool.
Right.
Okay.
Go 2 seconds.
Go 2 seconds. It was perfectly timed too because I did it exactly when you did it. So.
I heard.
All right. So let's go 2 seconds, Zeb.
Last week, we launched our first Giving Back campaign, partnering with freegeek.org, educating the community, leveraging the power of open source, closing the digital divide, and reducing e-waste are all important issues, and we as a community can be part of the solution. Please take some time today to visit destinationlinux.network and learn some more about how you can get involved. Already, we've had some extremely generous monetary donations and many people rounding up some of their computer hardware not in use to donate to an amazing cause. The entire DL152 network of shows is supporting this cause, and we hope you will help us bring awareness and support for this organization. And that was crap. That was seriously
the charity?
Crap.
Jeez,
no, the way I read that was just so bad.
It was basically a stool sample, Zeb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do it again, Zeb, and actually mean it this time.
And also monetary.
Monetary. Hey, look, you want the Brit on the show. You put up with my...
No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. Honestly, I think that because of all the nonsense we're doing, your stoicness is the only way we're going to get through this stuff. So
Nathan Wolf wants to know, is bubbly as good as Faygo? That's awesome.
I don't even know what that is, but the answer is probably yes, because this stuff is amazing. Do they have strawberry? Probably not, and this is strawberry.
Faygo is like RC Cola for random flavors and stuff.
No, isn't Faygo the one where the insane clown posse?
Yes, the ICP promote Faygo all the time because it's from Detroit.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go 2 seconds, Steph.
Last week, we launched our first Giving Back campaign, partnering with freegeek.org. Educating the community, leveraging the power of open source, closing the digital divide, and reducing e-waste are all important issues, and we as a community can be part of the solution. So please take some time today to visit destinationlinux.network and learn about how you can get involved. Already, we've had some extremely generous monetary donations and many people rounding up some of their computer hardware not in use to donate to an amazing cause. The entire DL152 network of shows is supporting this cause, and we hope you will help us bring. See, I don't muck that last bit up again, so I'm going to start from the entire DL152 network. Sorry,
just rewrite it. Just rewrite.
That's fine. No. Just do the last section. Do the last sentence again.
The entire DL152 network of shows is supporting this cause, and we will hope you will help us bring awareness and support to this organization. Finally.
You did it.
You did it. I'll
Hey,
give.
finally,
well
we get
done.
I kept waiting for somebody to write stool in there.
No, you
believe it or not.
You
We
deserve.
just got the news.
You deserve at least $9 for that.
Okay, hold on a second now. Somebody writes stool in there. What do you think we are? A bunch of children?
Yeah, exactly. They're not gonna troll you. They're gonna troll me, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
We like Noah. I mean,
Wow. You don't even know who you're talking to.
Well, Zeb and Noah.
That's how
and
little
Ryan.
you care
Just,
about us.
Basically.
Michael, what are you drinking?
Technically, it is water.
Can't afford it.
Technically, it's water, but it was
So you don't have cups in your
vanilla
home?
orange Coke.
Yeah.
that-
See, he
is
can't
this
afford cups.
bottle?
I can afford bubbly.
I
in
prefer
cans.
bottles because why might I use a cup? Because cups can spill and bottles don't spill.
He likes that plastic.
You know what? When you're sitting on a stool that wobbles back and forth, you probably need like a sippy cup type thing.
I also have orange ginseng, so
Ginseng up. All right, Noah, you're up first.
All right, let's do it.
Or as Marius said, he didn't have any money left for a proper cup.
He spent it on his stool.
What?
He spent his $9 on a stool instead of a.
Oh,
Instead of a cup. Yeah.
oh.
Could've
Michael,
got a
I could send you a cup if you wanted one.
4 nice cups for $9. Yeah,
Michael, we could get you some cups.
yeah, we'll send
Did you need some cups?
Sorry.
I don't say a
decide
range.
you want to-
What?
What?
Orange.
Talking of cups,
What do I say?
you
Orange.
should be using one of these.
Yeah, Michael. You could get. Well, you could have gotten one of those for $9.
That's not as
Yeah,
not as
get one of
much.
those.
That's not as much liquid volume.
Oh, so now you're basically tearing down our own merchandise.
No.
Good job.
It's for coffee, not for water. I need a significant amount of water.
Okay, so it
because
turns out both are
'cause I have to-
liquid, and you can sip both from the.
Yeah, but one's not good for your throat while you're talking.
What are you talking about? The kind of apparatus you drink the water from does not affect.
No, I'm talking about the amount of water. I want more water.
Drink more.
I have to get up. You guys, I hate you guys
Install
so
a
much.
faucet in your room.
So it's no
So
amount,
much.
and I'm not gonna
I've
say
never met
that-
anybody that has such difficulty drinking water from a cup. Only you, Michael. All right, let's start.
He's like, it just goes all over him. He
Go
doesn't-
2
So if
seconds.
you're looking for a simple way to get involved, take 10 minutes of your day and provide Ubuntu some stalls on what you would like to see. I'm not going to change it.
All right, Michael, we're ready. Why are you? Doing
Are
that?
you?
We're
Are
waiting on
you
you.
actually ready?
Yes.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, sure. So,
All right.
go 2 seconds.
Sorry. Ubuntu has released their new user survey. It's out to the community, and this time they want to hear your story. With the upcoming release of 20.04, the new LTS that's on the horizon in April, Ubuntu is looking to get feedback from the community on how you use Linux and what features you're interested in and seeing in the future. Now, the survey just takes about 10 minutes to complete, and it's a great opportunity to have your voice heard. As a general rule of thumb, try to get the emotion out of your response and give a clear, direct answer to their questions so that they can properly organize and tally and turn into metrics what the feedback is. Now, most surveys that come out, they run for a few weeks, and then they're done. And by the time anybody finds out about them, it's too late to even participate. Well, this survey is different because it lasts until January 10th, and that's really appreciated. But what that means is if you're a user of Ubuntu, if you're a user of the free Linux operating system, and you want the Canonical, the company who makes Ubuntu, to be aware of your frustrations and or the things that you appreciate, then now is the time for you to reach out to them and let them know what things are going well and what things they should be working on, because they have a limited time, resources, and money that they can spend on these things. And so they did what any good community member would do, which is they reach out to the community and they say, hey, we have a certain amount of resources, we have a certain budget, we have a certain amount of technical problems that we can solve. So what would be important to you in the next 5 years that 2004 is a resounding success from the very people that use it? And so we want to, first of all, thank Canonical for doing this, but also encourage you to go out and actually take the survey, because once compiled, they're also going to be sharing these results with the public. So again, this is another example of a true open source community member conducting and spending their own business money to further the development of an open source project inside and in front of the community. And so if you're looking for a simple way to get involved, if you've ever said to yourself, I would like to give back to the open source community, but I don't have a lot of money and I don't have any development skills and I don't really know what to do. Well, take 10 minutes out of your day, take 10 minutes of your time and provide Canonical with some of the feedback that they're looking for so that the next person that comes to use 2004 doesn't get hit by the same bug that you got hit with, and or Canonical knows, hey, this is a thing that's working really well. It's very important to people. We should continue to support it. This is great, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like this because, one of the comments that I think was from Popey or Martin was talking about it randomly. I don't know if it was directly related to the survey. Is sometimes they feel like they're in a bubble of feedback. And that happens in any community, right? Let's say you start a new Telegram group up and it's just for Ubuntu. Eventually, everyone comes in and they throw all their issues out, but eventually everyone gets friendly. They get to know each other. You kind of don't want to really put down that product or that issue you have, maybe because you understand how much work they're doing and how difficult things are, and all of that stuff happens, and you create a little bubble around yourself and your team. And somebody who manages and leads people for a living, this is something that happens quite a bit with teams. You eventually get really close with your team as you work with them long enough, and you almost have this bubble of feedback where everyone says, oh yeah, you're a great boss, you don't have anything to work on. Well, there's always something to work on. So you've got to get feedback externally or find different ways to give feedback. And I think that's what Ubuntu is doing here, is they're trying to get outside of their bubble and find a different avenue for people to come and give them feedback in different places that maybe aren't a part of their Telegram groups or aren't a part of their forums or aren't a part of the normal areas for feedback. And this is really important. And I think they're going to probably, and I love that they're publishing it, because I think they're going to probably find some interesting things that they didn't expect here by doing this method where they have an open survey that you go out and fill. And there's a lot of areas in this survey, because I took it, that allow you to just add in your comments. So if you've ever done this type of data analysis before, it's really difficult to take people's comments and then aggregate that into something that's tallied, which is why your advice, Noah, of taking out, giving clear, direct responses and taking out emotion like, oh my gosh, I hate this, like that, none of that's going to get tallied. What is the thing that you want fixed? What is it? What do you want to be done with it? Why is it bothersome? That type of stuff is something that's a little bit easier to tally in the overall results. But this is why Ubuntu in a lot of ways is king. They do things like this. They outreach to the community. They have people that regularly participate in the community. Popey and Martin regularly comment in our Telegram group. They comment in many people's Telegram groups. It just, they're involved. And this is another way that they're involved.
Sure. So you've actually taken this, because one of the frustrating things I sometimes find out about these surveys is, it'll only take you 10 minutes, and in 25 minutes you're still winging your way through the questions. So is it
page 7 of every 10 questions is a new page, and they don't tell you how many pages there are, so you don't know how far along in the survey you are.
Yeah. So what is it, like 10, 15 minutes, Ryan?
I say absolutely you could complete this easily in 10 minutes, but it's up to you. If you want to sit there and spend a lot of time contemplating each question and filling out paragraph of information, sentences on each thing, which I'll just tell you, again, they're probably going to have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of responses on this. So, people aren't going to sit there and read paragraphs of information they're writing. So if you wanted to, you could spend more time on it. But if you wanted to get through it in 10 minutes, you absolutely could do a good job of getting all the things answered in a 10 to 15 minute time frame. No problem.
Cool.
Do we want to mention that people should consider telling them about partnering with AMD?
What do you think I put in my survey?
That's what I did too. All right, go 2 seconds, Seb.
Keeping on the Ubuntu theme, a new unofficial flavor of Ubuntu has just been released called Ubuntu Cinnamon. If you're a fan of the Cinnamon desktop but don't want to install it yourself on Ubuntu, or you're not a fan of Mint, this might be for you. Some differences out of the box is that Ubuntu Cinnamon is based on the 1910 version of Ubuntu, where Mint is based on the LTS version. Additionally, you get snap support out of the box versus the Flatpak support that Mint offers you out of the box. You also get to choose from a whole suite of wallpapers and other minor tweaks in this implementation. So if you're a Cinnamon and Ubuntu fan, it might be worth looking at. Ubuntu Cinnamon seems to be working towards the goal of becoming an official flavor, So what does everyone think about this? Are you a cinnamon lover, or is it just one of those desktops that you've sort of come to the opinion, oh, well, it's Mint, so therefore I don't particularly like it?
Well, I like Mint, but I don't get this particular particular move here because I just don't know. This is one of the things going back that there's not a lot of excitement when you have a new flavor of Ubuntu. Not this is an official flavor, but something like this where they're just taking Ubuntu and throwing a desktop on it. And I know they're doing more than just that. And the people behind this seem to be very talented and also involved in the community. So I hate saying anything, that may be perceived as negative because that's not my intent. It's just I would rather see something like this in an unofficial move that had something like rolling in it, or
Mhm.
something that brings it additional security or different apps or something that brings it some excitement other than, hey, we have another Ubuntu and now it has a Cinnamon desktop, which I guess again, now that I've been experienced with Linux long enough, I would just, if I wanted to use Cinnamon, just throw it on Ubuntu and use Cinnamon. But that's not an option for everybody. And
Sure.
Cinnamon is a great desktop environment, but to me, it's just kind of stomping all over the territory that's what Mint's kind of for, right?
Mhm. But the thing is, if you prefer to use Ubuntu over Mint, and this does become an official flavor, because if it was just somebody who was going to put it out there and it's, he's going to be allowed to call it Ubuntu Cinnamon, where are you going to go for support for Cinnamon? You're going to shoot off to the Mint desktop where most of the Cinnamon users are, and they're going to go, wait, you're not using Mint, go to Ubuntu because you're using Ubuntu version of Cinnamon. So I think that they're doing the right thing in becoming another flavor, but I can understand your reticence in going, oh well, it's just another Ubuntu, it's another desktop. Really, what's the point? Um, who knows how this team might then grow with experience. They start to work with the Ubuntu team and then become, the next Martin Wimpress or the next Alan Pope or the next
Absolutely.
Simon
Yeah.
Quigley. So, whilst I'm sort of in a similar vein to you are, I tend to now try and think of that side of things because, hey, way back then when people spun off Mint from Ubuntu and everybody said, well, what's the point? Well, look at Mint now. Look how much it has grown. And who's to say that Ubuntu Cinnamon might not grow in the same light?
Yeah, and there's also things that with Linux Mint does things that in their structure of how they do the packages that are different from Ubuntu that could create issues. And that's one of the reasons why for a long time they had that different tier system of what package updates you're doing and that sort of thing. So that there could be issues created because of their different structure because they're not directly connected to the Ubuntu infrastructure while they still use the infrastructure. So that's why the time shift thing was added so that you can have a kind of a safety net in the terms of like this different structure. Whereas with Ubuntu Cinnamon, if it is an official flavor, it gets the infrastructure of Ubuntu to help power it. And in a latest, like recently, Martin Wimpress had in one of the Ubuntu podcasts, they mentioned something about how he said that 95% of the work done for Ubuntu Mate is done by Canonical and by Ubuntu with the infrastructure as an official flavor. And he was saying that without that being done, Ubuntu Mate wouldn't exist. So he wouldn't have been making his own distribution if he had to spend that effort on the 95% of the work versus the 5% of the work. So the benefit of having an official flavor is not only just being able to, create a distribution that is somewhat unique and different, but also you have the infrastructure provided by Canonical. So
you like this move?
I think that it's I think there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think it's a waste of time because of the fact that there are some things that I don't think that Mint does properly in the sense of their packaging conflicts with Ubuntu. I think there are issues there, and I don't like how they handle PPAs with the priority issue that they have. But overall, I think that Cinnamon is a really good desktop environment, and I think that there is some value in having Ubuntu Cinnamon as a official flavor. If it becomes official, if it's not official, then I would say that there could be some issues there because you don't know about the support and the infrastructure and all that stuff. But if it does become official, that's great. And also, prior to becoming official, they could have code names that are fun, like Cinnabuntu.
Oh my gosh, Noah, what is your thought on Ubuntu Cinnamon?
Honestly, I just don't really see the point. I like Cinnamon. It's okay as a desktop. There is, to me, and again, there's no such thing as too much choice. I'm glad there's a lot of people out there. I'm glad that everybody has their own spin on things. That's great. But to me, it does seem like there are too many Windows clones that are trying to pop up on Linux, right? Like KDE kind of started that, and now we've got XFCE, and we have Cinnamon, and we, it just, yeah, it just seems like we're trying to crack the same nut like 16 times over, and everybody has their own kind of unique way to do it. And I would never tell anybody, oh, they're wasting their time, they shouldn't do that. Like, that's how we get the best possible product out of there. But I think when you actually look at them, I think if you wanted Ubuntu with the Cinnamon desktop, you would just use Mint. And as Michael, I agree with everything Michael said. There are some serious security concerns that I have with Linux Mint, but at the same time, I think that they have the brand name and the recognition and the track history to just keep that ball rolling. If you want to do something, go help with Linux Mint, and don't worry about having Ubuntu Cinnamon. Just let's go ahead and accept that Linux Mint did it. And if we have problems with the way that Linux Mint did it, let's not say things like, well, you haven't done it the same way that all the other flavors did it, and so it wouldn't be consistent, so we can't give your distribution the exact same, resources and stuff that it would if we basically redid your distribution in a slightly different way. It just doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel very open source to me. It doesn't feel very very community oriented, right? We have an Ubuntu base with the Cinnamon desktop. It's called Linux Mint, and there's a person that has devoted his life and a team that has devoted their lives to trying to make that product as good as it can possibly be, and they've had some pretty decent success in that. It's one of the most popular distributions that are downloaded and referenced. Why doesn't Canonical look over at them and say, tap, 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 hey, you can be an official flavor, and your naming is a little different, and that's okay because
well, they can't be an official flavor because their infrastructure is massively different in the sense that they still use the core repos, but they change so much of their packaging system that it just is not compatible. So that's why they can't.
So all the case though, Michael. I mean, they've changed a lot of those security concerns.
They've improved. No, they've done workarounds. Like the adding time shift doesn't solve the issue. It just creates a solution as a safety net, which overall for users it's fine. But the compatibility with Ubuntu's infrastructure is still not there. So,
but could they not? Could Canonical not approach them and say, if you change XYZ, then you can become an official flavor, and that is.
Couldn't that be saying the same thing about being, someone saying that Canonical's trying to take over Linux Mint? You could just twist it a different way and say that they're not trying to be provided official things. I'm just saying like that there could be value in having an Ubuntu Cinnamon because it's different people looking at the different code and on a different.
Who says Mint wants to be a part of Canonical?
Right. They might not want to,
and maybe they don't. But if they don't, then what are we really solving here? Is there and this is kind of where I'm getting at? Is there really a group of people out there that are like, man, I really like Linux and I just really wish I could use the Cinnamon desktop, but gosh darn it, Linux Mint just doesn't work for me. Like, come on. By the time you get to that nuance, that person is installing Ubuntu base and they're just installing the Cinnamon package, and then they're installing their desktop that way.
Sure, but there also could be benefits not only just on the user side, but it could be benefits for the development because they could have this, like for example, you have this new Ubuntu Cinnamon flavor, and they start working on newer packages and a newer base of Ubuntu, and then the next LTS comes around, and they have already solved a lot of issues that the Linux Mint team haven't even got to yet, and they could give them upstream stuff. So there could be values there.
So what features and functionality would you be willing to forego on Ubuntu proper so that we can have this new niche distro that a handful of people are going to use? Because at the end of the day, Canonical's resources.
Canonical doesn't have any benefit. They don't have to work on these flavors. That's not how it works.
Anyways,
but even if it did, it doesn't matter because the flavors don't work that way. Canonical doesn't take their work and put it in, their employees.
I understand that. We just got done talking about why that the resources of Canonical fundamentally enable these distributions to do something that they wouldn't be able to do if they were trying to do it on their own, right?
Right, but they already have those resources. So the only thing they're doing is allowing someone else to use the same resources and using more bandwidth. But as far as the actual work involved, it's still on the community flavor, because the flavor is still made by the community. It's on them to do all the work. That's why when Ubuntu Mate was first released, it was not an official flavor. It was retroactively turned into one, and then he started using their infrastructure, but he didn't have that ability yet. So even then, you still have the same benefits of they get all the resources, but they don't actually have to, the Canonical doesn't have to put anything extra into it. They're just providing another community to have the resources.
Mm-hmm. And the advantage is that we just have one more choice.
Essentially, and also there's advantages of the potential of finding bugs that Linux Mint team haven't gotten to yet, because every time they base their system, they're basing on 2004. But if you have the Ubuntu Cinnamon basing on the 6-month releases as well, there could be things and new packages and conflicts that they find and improve, and various things that they could push back to Linux Mint. There's a potential value in the community side on the upstream as well as the users. So there could be value in that sense.
They could just join the Mint team and help them with Mint directly too.
Sure, but also that would only be for LTS versions, because they still make their stuff for LTS. And that's why for like a month or two after the LTS comes out, they have to have time to make sure that the finalized version of Ubuntu's LTS is compatible with their infrastructure.
If you're a developer, you're not sitting there just on the LTS that you're based on and only testing there. You're future-proofing your distro and pulling down the latest versions to see if it's going to work on this kernel.
In some ways, I think that's true, yes. But I think that there are, because they wait for 2 years every time they make a new version of Mint, because they make every new like 19 point whatever is still based on the LTS. So they're not fully testing all these other the differences within 6 months for releases, because there's no reason for them to be doing that when they're only doing the LTS anyway. So I don't know.
Well, there you go. It's out there for people to try. Sounds like some people get it, some people don't. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's out there. They're developing for it, and you can go pick up Ubuntu Cinnamon if you want to try it. And I know they're working towards becoming an official flavor, so good luck to them. It looks like they have a lot of talented people working on this, and we'll see how this kind of rolls out for Mint. Is this going to take a lot of users away from Mint? Everyone will go the Ubuntu Cinnamon route now instead? I guess time will tell.
Yep. All right. So next up, and hold on a second. Ryder says in the chat that he's the exact person. Noah, what does that mean? What do you mean, Ryder?
I think he's the person that maybe wants Cinnamon. Is that what it means, Ryder? Doesn't want to use Mint, but wants Cinnamon desktop.
Right.
Maybe.
And on Ubuntu, because you could use it on like Manjaro
Yeah,
or
he
something.
says I like it,
and can't install the desktop
likes,
just from a PPA or something.
Well, I mean,
I like Cinnamon and Ubuntu and want Cinnamon on Ubuntu 1910. Well, there you go.
Okay,
cool.
Sweet.
Someone wants it.
All right, so Ryan, go 2 seconds.
So another news, Microsoft Teams is now available for Linux. So this week, the Teams app, which is a unified communication and collaboration platform, you get persistent chat with it, video meetings, file storage, all of that has been officially released for Linux in the .deb and .rpm package, at least. Teams is a very popular tool in certain corporate environments. For instance, the company I work for, we utilize Teams regularly. It was a replacement for Skype, was it, back in the day? Not Skype. What was the instant messenger Microsoft had before?
MSN Messenger.
MSN?
Yeah, just MSN Messenger.
Just Messenger.
Yeah.
But it's been a replacement for that, and it's a pretty good tool. There are issues, typical Microsoft like bugs and things in it, but overall, all of the features for video chat and things are available in Teams. While there are better open source solutions out there, those who need this for their work can now stay in the Linux family and be able to utilize this tool. So it's currently in testing technically. So it would be nice to see this come out eventually as, say, a snap or Flatpak, so it works universally on any distro out there. And I'm sure there's work looking into that now. But one thing that I did find interesting, and Jason Evangelo in Linux for Everyone kind of mentioned this in either a tweet or in his show, about the fact that there was very specific language used in the article saying that this is typically bundled in an Office application. So technically, this is our first Office app on Linux. So leading a lot of people to believe maybe this is the beginning of them beginning to port everything else over from here, because this is a big part. Teams is a big part of their Office suite infrastructure. So because it can do more than just chat, you obviously have file storage and other things available within this tool. So what is everybody's thought here? We have given Microsoft a little bit of heat in the past saying, well, give us something we could actually use that's relevant here. Microsoft Teams is a lot more relevant than a lot of other things they've delivered. In my personal experience, I would say it is. What's your thought?
Well, I think for those people who have the opportunity to use Linux at work and or working from home, this is going to be a great addition for them. One of the things that we have to do with our particular company, because they're trying to save money by allowing people working at home and not having to rent expensive office space. So we rely an awful lot on Skype for Business, which, as you know, is part of Office 365. So that allows us to have all of these communications. Now, imagine those companies where they are allowing users to work at home and connecting into their network using Linux. This is just going to make it so much easier for them to have that collaboration.
Yeah, I made a joke on this about on Twitter or something like that. I don't remember where I put it, but I got feedback, significant feedback about people who would benefit from this a lot for the same reason that Zeb just said, where they work in an office that uses Microsoft Teams and not wanting to use Windows. This allows them to be able to switch over into just using Linux completely, because the only thing that was stopping them was using this Microsoft Teams thing.
I'm one of them. Potentially, this will allow me to get rid of the last Windows machine in here and move over to it, because a lot of the company I work for, a lot of the work that they do is based out of collaboration and everything through the Teams tool. So it's a really interesting move here that could allow a lot of people to have a Linux machine instead of a Windows machine.
Yeah.
But Noah, I heard some reservation there. So what's your thoughts on this?
You guys pretty much covered what I was going to say. So I would just kind of echo what you guys say. The only thing I would probably add is this. I don't look so much for the end result. What I look for is motivation. Why is it companies make the decisions that they make? And when I look at Microsoft Teams being deployed and I ask about motivation, my thought process goes something like this. They have people that are out there doing development work, and they want those people to use a Microsoft product. And if they don't support Linux, then the people that are doing the development, even if it's for Microsoft themselves, aren't going to be on Microsoft Teams, and they're going to use something like Slack because it is operating system agnostic. And then when you look at the way that it actually is implemented, where they don't use any of the window styling that comes with your theme or your distribution, they custom do everything themselves because they want it to look Windows-y and Microsoft-y. Do you really look at that and say to yourself, well, yeah, that's Microsoft really putting it out there for Linux? Or is it that's Microsoft pushing their product to everybody, even Linux, because you're going to use a Microsoft product no matter what operating system you're on, because that's the new Microsoft loves Linux? It just, you know what I mean? Where's the intention? What are they actually looking for? What are they actually aiming for? Are they trying to...
It's probably just to get a bit more people using Teams. I mean, I think it's definitely...
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
so.
It's
am I
definitely
supposed to be thankful that Microsoft? Am I supposed to be thankful or fall over grappling at the knees that Microsoft is so great to us Linux users? Or am I supposed to say, there's one more example where code gets pushed out to Linux, but it's because it's beneficial to Microsoft, not because it's beneficial, to Linux per se.
Let me ask you this: do you think people believe when they're using, say, Visual Studio from Microsoft, which is a very popular IDE that Microsoft has released for Linux, and Microsoft Teams, that suddenly they're because they're in Linux, that they're not giving all of the telemetry data back to Microsoft? Meaning, because they're installing these Microsoft apps in Linux, they believe, okay, well, my telemetry is safe because it's open source and it's on Linux. Do you think people are having that? Because I'm starting to think that, based on some conversations that I've seen in chat, that people believe because they're installing these Microsoft products in Linux, that the telemetry issues aren't there.
The telemetry issue, I mean, you have to look at the specific application, right? And I'm the kind of crazy idiot that sits there and hooks Wireshark up and actually looks at what the stuff is doing. In fact, I spent right over there, if you look on my workbench, you can see that little switch that's hooked up to that little NVR Synology. The reason that's there is because there's a switch port that's monitored, and I am watching every single packet that comes out of that box, and I want to know where it's going. And I'm looking to see if it's resolving any addresses in Taiwan, since Synology is a Taiwanese manufacturer. I want to know if any of that stuff is calling home. And if it is, I'd like to know when it's happening and how often and all of those kinds of things. And what I found thus far is that it's just sending information about my notifications. And so if we start looking at Microsoft Teams and actually looking at what it's actually doing, then we'll know this software is calling out or doing this, that, or the other. But I think there's a good argument to be made, a solid argument to be made, that if you're using a proprietary software solution, even if it does call home and that's running on Linux, you're better off, because at least when you shut that software down, you're not continuing to send those data metrics to Microsoft. Whereas if I'm running Microsoft Teams on Windows 10, now all of a sudden I have two problems. I have the actual software package, which is calling home, but then I also have my base operating system that even if I'm not doing anything on my computer, I'm just sitting there browsing the internet. It's sending a certain amount of information back to Microsoft. So I agree with the mentality that, yeah, I think they are safer if you're running proprietary software on Linux, because at least the core of your PC is secure and trustworthy.
Nothing, Michael? Really? Wow.
What?
You must be tired.
I am tired, actually, but what?
That's cool.
Nothing. We'll move on. Go.
Well, I don't have a problem with what Noah said. I think he's right in the sense that they are.
No, he's bullcrap wrong.
Then why don't you change it? Why don't you say something? I think he's. I don't agree that it is safer in general.
You don't know what Teams is sending. No, what Noah said isn't wrong, but you don't know what Teams is actually sending. You assume that it's just sending.
I will by the end of next week.
About that app, but it really could be pulling an entire advertiser ID profile, pulling browsing history. It could be doing all kinds of things behind the scenes, and I think people assume because it's running on Linux that that's not possible, but that's actually not the case. It very well, once you execute that application, could be going behind the scenes and pulling data from other applications, creating advertising.
When you typed the time when you typed sudo in front of the install command, that was when you made your decision to let Teams do its thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and also that's why people use VS Codium instead of VS Code. So there's that, but at the same time, I think that there's problems with that the structure as for sure. But there's unfortunately people think that just by using Linux that they're going to be safe no matter what they use, and that's definitely not true. Because if you install something that's not kosher, then it's still going to be doing whatever random malicious thing it's doing.
No, I'm not saying Teams is doing that. I'm not even making that claim. I haven't checked, but I think somebody needs to do what Noah's doing and hook up some Wireshark there and inspect those packets, because would I be shocked if an article came out and said, hey, by the way, they're pulling an entire profile and everything when you do this installation, and you accepted that when you skipped that screen that had a privacy policy on there? I would not be shocked one bit that it's happening.
That's a good way to end it there.
No, I would love for you to do that, dude.
Listen, the switch is already set up for doing it for the Synology. As soon as I'm done, I'll throw Teams on there.
Fascinated to know if Teams is pulling.
Absolutely. Here's the thing: there is a limit to what you can see,
myself,
right? Because
honestly, but I'm still learning that part.
Here's the thing. Well, it's not hard. You just mirror a port. But here's the thing. Here's a poor man's way. Here's the way I used to do it before I could afford managed switches. Take an Ethernet cable. Take another Ethernet cable. Twist the wires together, blue to blue, blue stripe to blue stripe, just, make a Y cable and plug one end into the Microsoft Teams and one end into a computer running Wireshark, and then the third end into wherever it is going out. You can sniff traffic that way. But anyway, what I was going to say was I'd be more than happy to do that as soon as I'm done with the Synology.
Yeah,
I'll throw Teams up there. Sure. It's getting harder and harder to do, right? Because what happens is, like Teams, for example, this would be a great example of this. We're going to see that Teams is going to call home to Microsoft, which we expect it to do.
Yes.
So we're going to see a DNS resolution for something.microsoft.com, and then there's going to be a bunch of encrypted packets that are going to and from Microsoft. And we just are going to hope that those are just the messages that are going back and forth, and then it's like there's a keep alive and stuff like that. With the Synology, there should be nothing going to Synology whatsoever. And in their defense, the only thing I'm seeing is when alerts go out, it's hitting their traversal server and then coming
I think
to the
the
app.
only way you could know that something is suspicious in that, which is what I was hoping maybe you knew something I didn't, was that when you first install Teams, how big is that packet that it's sending? And then the pings, how big are those packets that it's sending? But
Yeah, we can tell that.
In text-based data, you could put a lot of information, including your entire browsing history, in a ASCII file that doesn't take up a lot.
That's it. Yeah. That's right. And how do you distinguish that between that and it's syncing down the message that John posted to the next thread or whatever?
Right.
But yeah, we'll check it out and see what we can find. Michael, go 2 seconds.
I almost skipped this one. I was like,
and start with hot take. This is a hot take. Go ahead.
Hot take. Yeah. You have to say, hot take.
Yeah. Put some energy into it, Michael.
Put some energy. Be happy.
If you need your stool for that.
Yeah. Go ahead and sit on it or stand on it or however.
We got through like 45 minutes or something.
Stand on it. Go ahead.
Without a laugh.
If you stand on it, you would actually probably die. Maybe not that bad.
Where's Mike's energy? And Ryder said, gone with his optimism. Mike, we didn't mean to pick on you, Michael. We're sorry.
I meant to pick on
you. Have no idea how much editing is in this.
No, it's easy because we spent 20 minutes on each edit point going on a tangent.
No, every single piece. Oh, well, exactly. Never mind. That's how little I'm paying attention.
Go ahead. Go 2 seconds. So you can stop editing.
How come we can't do like one episode where I edit little? Just one.
Next episode, that's the one.
Because you're a perfectionist.
Just don't buy a stool.
No, I'm not. No, that has nothing to do with my perfectionism.
You're creating editing time for yourself here right now.
No, I don't. I skipped this
that you're going to have to go back and listen to and go, oh my God, these idiots.
No, I don't. This is what the edit points are for. I just skip past this nonsense. All right.
So let me just make sure that nobody's changed Microsoft to Micro Stool. No, it's all good. Yep.
Yeah, you're good. Go, Michael. 2 seconds.
All right.
Stool.
That was kind
Why are you sitting there? It's like 10 seconds.
I don't know. I just wanted to mess with you guys in some way. So I'm just like, whatever. I'm just going to not say anything for a while. All right. You got to make sure it's in view. Yeah, of course. All right.
You're muted.
No, I'm not. Don't lie to me.
No, he's talking about me because I talked without my microphone up, and then I realized it, and then I realized it wasn't important, and I didn't want it to turn into a thing. But
no, it's a thing. Of course it is.
Jacob wants Noah to set up a stool cam. That's a good idea.
A stool cam?
Just promise me you'll never have a pussycat sitting on it.
Okay, so let's move on. So some interesting news recently about... I gotta scratch my eye, so shut up.
And he says we're the ones creating edit points. Look at this nonsense.
If I create it myself, I can't complain. That's why I'm not complaining. If you create 1,000 for me...
Can we get through this show? Jeez, guys.
I don't even know, honestly. Okay.
Okay, go stall seconds.
So that was good. I did not expect it. It was like I expected a troll and then an extra troll.
Because he does it with
top.
such a straight face that you're like, did he just say? He did just say. That's funny. And then he's got the straight face.
Mary is right. I have Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. All right, Michael.
Who is this Marius guy? We've got to get him on the show and have a chat.
I'm really
even if he's just to troll Michael. The Troll Michael episode.
It's like one of the nicest.
Everybody who likes to troll Michael, from the patrons to come on the show.
Let's not do that. No,
Yannick and Dark One and Marius.
We already have 3. We don't need to have an extra group of it. All right. So up next in the show, there's some interesting information from Canonical, and this is that they are sponsoring the WSL conference. So if you're one of those excited about WSL, you will also be excited to know that Canonical is sponsoring a WSL event at Microsoft.
Wait, Microsoft's not sponsoring Canonical. Canonical's sponsoring Microsoft.
Right. Yes.
Interesting.
We'll see if it makes sense. Announcing it will be a featured sponsor. The conference takes place in March and will be for devs, enthusiasts, and users over the 2-day period. So there's been quite a few people giving talks at this conference, and there will also be a deep dive in the new WSL2 based Docker desktop for Windows, along with a demo for WSL integration with Visual Studio and JetBrains. The conference is free, but space is limited, so head over to the WSL conference website to register before March 10th and 11th so you can be there.
You sound excited about this, Michael.
Sure, why not? So some in the community are getting concerned about Canonical investing its resources in WSL, which makes sense because as in, it's day one, I was concerned about it. Others feel it is going to be bringing people to Linux. And we would want to know what everybody thinks about this because this is it's an interesting topic. How about that? So what do y'all think?
Has Hades frozen over? I feel like, it's weird that Canonical is sponsoring a Microsoft event. What is included in the sponsoring? I could not find anywhere. I don't know if anybody's had any more success.
No, I couldn't find it either.
For the event at Microsoft, Are they spending cash resources to be at Redmond to do this, or is sponsoring just like, well, we're setting up some computers and we're going to have people there to do conferences and help them maintain stuff? I hope it's the latter, because I think Microsoft's got a lot of money. They really don't need Canonical sponsoring an event for this, but it's interesting. WSL is getting way more popular. It's continuing to gain in popularity. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I would rather hear what Noah and folks have to say. I think everybody knows pretty much where I stand on this. I've been pretty clear.
Just quickly from my standpoint, is WSL really intended for those developers who need access to Linux type tools who have to work on Microsoft, or what's the main purpose for Canonical doing this WSL stuff?
The purpose of WSL is basically it's a way for Microsoft to provide tools that they wouldn't normally have to people who need Linux tools, but for some reason don't want to use Linux, so they use Microsoft and they get the tools anyway. So it makes sense. It's as far as business decision, it's good for Microsoft to get people to not leave Windows.
Great for Microsoft.
Such
a good thing for Microsoft.
It's really smart on their part. It makes no sense to me why anyone would and it's not even just Canonical. Canonical is doing this in addition to working on a WSL, but Red Hat also has stuff. SUSE has stuff in WSL. Even Kali Linux has a version that you can get in WSL. So
you're not wrong.
So I don't know why we as a community are helping them.
Although I don't know about the Red Hat. Why do you say there's Red Hat? I think, you mean Fedora. That's what you're talking about.
But also Red Hat makes Fedora, so it's a thing. Yeah.
I was just trying to think. I don't remember seeing Red Hat as an option in WSL, but Fedora, I think.
Yeah, Fedora is in there. So it's just more of a situation why are these companies helping WSL become a thing to make Linux not necessary? That's what it seems like its purpose is. And I get why Microsoft is doing it, but I don't get why we're helping.
Noah,
I think again, devil's advocate, because for the most part, I think if I was asked just on the street, I'd probably give a very similar answer to Michael. Just trying to play devil's advocate a little bit, though, is it not beneficial to Canonical that if Microsoft is going to develop their products on Linux, that's pretty much a given at this point. They need the stability, the security, and the flexibility and power flex of Linux. So that's probably going to happen. The only question is, are they going to use Ubuntu, or are they going to develop their own in-house Linux? It's not like it's above Microsoft to hire a bunch of developers and just say, hey, guess what? Now MS Linux is going to be a thing and we're going to develop it. Or, we'll just buy Canonical out because we have the money to do it. Those things are possibilities down the road, right? So WSL gives us the ability to control to a certain extent what features are available and how they're implemented, and make sure that the experience is decent on Windows, so that when people go to use it, they don't just go, oh, real Windows does this, but when you go into WSL, all of a sudden it's just like this hacked together thing and doesn't quite work right and whatever else. No. We are community players. We advocate for maximum absence of coercion and allow people to do whatever it is they want. That's why the GPL exists. You can do what you want with the software. And so when Microsoft says, hey, we want to take advantage of this open source thing, we'll go ahead and give it a shot. Let's see if we can integrate it into Windows. Our answer to the community is what? no, get out of our sandbox and go make your own, or no, this is the great thing about open source. You want to use it, knock yourself out. Here you go. Here's the source code. Hey, would you like some help? We will send our developers to help you embed this thing into your crappy operating system and breathe some much needed life into it. Like, that to me doesn't seem like a bad approach. Is it a massive backhanded slap in the face of Microsoft? Hey, your OS sucks. Yes, it is. But the people that are actually using it, you're making the developer's life better. I would point you to the direction of Linus Torvalds when he bumps into this guy at Microsoft in the elevator, and they ask him, well, Linus, what do you actually think? Does Microsoft really love Linux? He's like, hey, listen, I talked to the developers. They seem like they're Linux-loving people. They seem to really like Linux. I agree with them. Seems like they like Linux. Seems like it's a new Microsoft. Kumbaya, let's all get along, right? I think there is some value to that. Whether or not I would, if I were in charge of Canonical, sponsor a Microsoft event in which we are going to make sure that the experience is as smooth as humanly possible, not using our operating system and using something else that we've hacked on. I don't know. But I agree at a basic premise that there is some value in Canonical supporting the decision of Microsoft to embed Linux into Windows. Well, and who knows, maybe eventually they'll just go, hey, that works better. Let's just dump the NT kernel and just base everything on WSL.
The argument I've heard, not saying this is the only argument, but the main argument that I hear as a rebuttal to when I have had issues with this WSL thing in the past and still continue to today is that, well, if more developers start utilizing Linux, this is a great way to get Linux exposed to other people out there. Mm-hmm. And it made me think, well, that's interesting, because I've heard this argument in several other applications as well, that, well, if we expose people to it, then, they'll want to use Linux in other places. And maybe these developers who wouldn't have touched Linux or known about it before will go, hey, I'm running Linux here. Let me now switch my entire machine from Windows to Linux, even though everything I have, including all the software and hardware support and everything I need, is in this Windows Linux hybrid. I'm just going to go switch full Linux now. We haven't gotten to the point on the Linux desktop that we're ready to start saying we can take on Windows and compare feature for feature. What Microsoft has done with PowerShell is slowly make PowerShell more and more and more powerful to where it's getting very close, not there yet, getting very close to some of the power that we've had in the terminal for a long time. And they're continuing to invest resources to improve it. So PowerShell becomes a big player. Now you have all of the advantages that you would have in Linux built into the terminal without the GUI. There's no GUI in WSL. I mean, you can set up kind of a separate server hybrid thing to try to emulate a desktop environment and stuff, but it takes a lot of work. I've tried it. It's not easy to get that GUI option to work in WSL or WSL2. And so most people, their experience is going to be, hey, Linux is this terminal thing. That I can type and drop some, servers or drop some Dockers or whatever I need to do from a developer standpoint, and then go into Windows where I have this beautiful menu system and it can click and drag and do everything that I need. I don't think this puts Linux in a great spotlight. And I often link it to Android, that how many times is when we were trying to really say, hey, there's so many Linux users out there, do we go to, and when people ask what is Linux, and go, hey, do you have an Android device? Yeah. Oh, you're using Linux. But see, that person never made that step. They never made that connection before. That's Linux.
Never goes any further than that.
And it never goes any further than that. And so they didn't make that connection. They were using Linux. And therefore, that's why we kind of dropped that. Everybody uses Linux. It's everywhere. But nobody knows that. Nobody knows they're using Linux. They don't care. And I think the devs are the same thing. They're not going to go, oh my gosh, this Ubuntu I'm installing is this special whole operating system that's graphical and beautiful and everything else. They're never going to see that part. They see a terminal. And that's
I don't know, man. I get what you're saying, and I agree to a certain extent that when you have so much obfuscation to the actual operating system, then you get to a point where, yeah, okay, fine. Everybody that's running Android is running Linux. A big whoop. It's not like well, Zoom is a bad example because obviously we're running a Zoom client, but it's not like a GoToMeeting. Well, I don't know. Just pick your app that exists on Android. It's not like because they make an Android app, now all of a sudden we have that software available on Linux, or that the software manufacturer gives two hoots about Linux. They just, Android is a popular mobile operating system, so people want to use it. So I get what you're saying there. At the same time, we are talking about the developers. That's who's using WSL. And I think those people are the people that currently are dual booting their systems to Linux and Windows. And I think this is Microsoft's attempt to try to rein that back in just a little bit. I don't think anybody that actually cares about Linux, they're still going to install it. Anybody that's just a dumb Windows user that, I opened up my email and I checked my Outlook calendar, that person is not using WSL to begin with. So I think we're talking about a very small niche, the developers who have a primarily Windows workflow that need some Linux for some things. Do we want to make their experience smoother? Do we not want to make their experience smoother? I think that's the question we really have to ask.
I mean,
and I don't know that I have a good answer to that.
All of the answers on Linux desktop, I think, for any developer out there. There are very few circumstances people could paint today to say that can't be done on Linux. So I would much rather have that developer completely go to Linux than just find the solution in there. And I also think there's probably a lot of people that tune into a podcast or watch a YouTube video or stumble upon one of my videos where I talk about hardware, and then my next video that they're interested in, like the new motherboard or AMD, and they don't care about the operating system. And then the next thing they hear me talking about Ubuntu or a distro that I'm on, and they go into their Microsoft store and say, hey, I've seen that Ubuntu thing. Let me install it. And boom, they install it and they get a terminal and go, this is what he's talking about. What is this stupid thing? And then close it down. And so I don't know that we're gaining anything here. I know people are saying it. They're saying we could gain stuff here and developers are going to help. And I'm sure it does help developers because they don't have to leave their Windows infrastructure to go there. But I don't think you're getting that inverse opportunity to take those developers and then make them completely Linux. Now, has it happened? I'm sure, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things, those developers are in mass leaving Windows and going installing Linux once they see WSL in action. And I think Microsoft is using this time in between where they have lost the potential market to build upon their tools like PowerShell to make it as effective and eventually, if not better, than what we have in the terminal.
So is WSL a bit of a decoy on behalf of Microsoft to say that we heart Linux, sort of a stool pigeon, so to speak?
I mean, it could be a situation where maybe Linux is going to, or Windows is going to base their next distro on a Linux kernel. There's that. People are saying Microsoft could buy Canonical. We were saying all these different things out there, but I think all of us are sitting there scratching our head going, I don't know what to think about this, because I don't see the counter arguments I hear do not make me go, oh, that's the path. That makes perfect sense. In fact, none of this does. They're investing a lot in PowerShell, a lot. They have a lot of videos coming out. They have a lot of training programs that get sent out to me in my email at work about, hey, learn PowerShell. They're doing courses that they're partnering with big training companies to do PowerShell. And PowerShell is getting powerful. This is no longer a joke. Is it as powerful as the terminal yet? No, but it is getting so much better than anything it ever was before. I think they're learning. They're learning from the people who are now sitting in their office teaching them why the terminal is powerful and saying, hey, we could do that in PowerShell. Eventually, I highly doubt there's going to be a case where Windows just goes away. I think there's going to be a case where Windows becomes as powerful as, takes the advantages that Linux has and incorporates them right into things like PowerShell.
Yeah, or the WSL thing, because it's like they're saying that they heart Linux, and they I guess in a way you could say that it's kind of true because they heart using it in their own system, so they don't have to get people to leave their system. So
yep. I mean, but who knows? Maybe this is all just good vibes and happy stuff. We'll see.
Good vibes and happy things.
Good vibes.
A huge shout out and thank you to Derek in the Patreon chat, who enabled me to slip past you something that everybody missed.
What is
I mentioned the stool pigeon reference.
Android is fake Linux. The answer is Chrome OS. You know what? You're right. The answer is Chrome OS. Why don't we think about that, guys?
I don't understand what that means.
Because Chrome's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Chrome OS is doing the exact same thing, sort of, but with the web. Chrome OS is taking the web and putting Linux in it. That's what they're doing.
All right. Let's get this show done. Noah, go 2 seconds.
Something we've talked a lot about on the show is the disconnect between graphic drivers released into the kernel and the time when a distro finally gets them included in their latest release. Well, turns out we're not the only ones talking about this because of the Linux Plumbers Conference. Daniel Vetter delivered a talk about this issue and how this is something that absolutely needs to be addressed. Now, we'll have a link to the talk in the show notes, so you can check those out over at destinationlinux.network. Click on the Destination Linux show, and you'll get all of the show notes, and that'll have all of the articles that we've referenced. But for those that are interested, this is at the core of the discussion, and the process is broken down. Intel and AMD, who release their graphic drivers into the stack, are often left waiting maybe 3 to 6 months, or even longer sometimes, in so-called stable distros. They go ahead and pick them up in either a new release or an HWE patch. Now, it's an unreliable way of delivering graphics drivers, and it impacts not just new hardware, but also older hardware as well. And he did start out with lots of good news. So it's not all bad news from Vulkan to Bridge. And he did start out with lots of, he did start out with lots of good news, though. So it's not all bad news from Vulkan to Bridge, and panel drivers have all massively improved in the last 10 years. The problem is delivery. And so the suggestions offered by Daniel Vetter include things like a stable kernel API. Is that supposed to be API? What is an ABI? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it should be API.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
The suggestions offered by Daniel Vetter include things like a stable kernel API for driver modules, so you can upgrade the drivers and kernel independently. And this is where Android is headed. So pay distros or OS vendors to backport the drivers. That's another way that you could accomplish the same thing. And because there's no standard LTS kernel and the versions used across distros vary so heavily, Daniel states, the cheapest way to support this entire madness is to completely ignore upstream and just write helper libraries provided by the kernel subsystems, completely defeating the supposed benefit of upstream code. And so then they ask the question, what does the panel here believe would help? And I guess I'll be very honest with you. This is the kind of stuff that is so far over my head that I have a really hard time even really grasping what these issues are. For me, it's like kernel graphic drivers for me are essentially like the car keys. I put the car key in the ignition, I pray, and then I turn, and hopefully the car runs. With graphic drivers, I install my operating system, I boot the thing up, and hopefully I see something. So I guess I would kind of kick this over to Ryan just a little bit. What are your thoughts about this, Ryan? Is this something that is a massive problem? And if so, are these viable solutions? What's your thoughts?
I think they're interesting solutions that I haven't thought about before. I mean, we've talked about the issue. I don't know that we've ever said this is the solution, because really you need the individuals who work on these distros day in and day out to kind of figure that out. But the problem is, you've got Intel next year currently, but also next year going to be releasing their independent GPUs, who are going to release their drivers into the kernel stack. You have AMD that does that today. But even taking this out of just graphic drivers, you have tons, and we've talked about this a lot, so I'll just be quick, tons of manufacturers out there from Logitech and everyone else releasing their device drivers into the kernel. The problem is this stuff doesn't get picked up. And it takes way too long in between for it to get picked up to be moved into a distro. So, you're one of those people who've been waiting for 7 years to get a new video card. Finally, Intel releases this new GPU. You go to the store, you buy it, you plug it into Ubuntu or any of the LTS distros, it doesn't matter, and you're not going to have any video. Nothing's going to work. And then you say, well, I'm going to wait until the next Ubuntu release. In the meantime, I'll run Windows with WSL probably. And you wait for the next Ubuntu release, and maybe Intel or AMD didn't get their drivers in place in time enough for Ubuntu to pull them in. And so it gets missed again. So now you're at a year before you get this in, and hopefully maybe one of them will do an HWE patch in between to pull those drivers in, but that doesn't always happen either. We've seen this time and time again recently with AMD releasing new hardware where these distros don't work with them. Now, some distros like Pop! OS go out there and they independently will fix certain issues, and other distros will just plain ignore it and say, well, there's just not enough community there for it, and we'll get it in a future release. I think this is a problem. This is an issue that has to be addressed. We have a lot of great things that are happening in this world, from, like was mentioned in article, Vulkan and panel drivers and things that have improved vastly in Linux in the last 10 years. We do not have a good solution for how we deal with drivers independent of the kernel. And so, Google Android is headed this direction. At least that's what they're stating, where they're going to be able to basically implement updates and patches independent of the whole operating system to attempt to keep Android up to date on different manufacturers, instead of waiting for those manufacturers to eventually release if they do at all, support for the latest improvements into the OS and things like that, which has created a huge fracturing system in Android. We actually have that fracturing here in Linux too, because there is, as was mentioned in this talk, there is no set. If you say go use an LTS kernel, which one? There is no set LTS kernel that's a standard for everybody. And, I think that we are also very much stuck on this idea that not a rolling distro has to roll everything, number one, which is not the case. And number two, that it has to be unstable. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think people are stuck on that idea because they've been in Linux for so long and they've always heard the thing that LTS is where it's stable and anything else that's rolling in between or moving instantly means break. I don't think that's the case anymore. And I think we sell ourselves short saying that case that stuff has to sit there for 6 months before we can call it stable. I don't buy it. I'm not buying it one bit. So I'm happy that somebody else out there independently is talking about this, because we've been talking about it. We get a lot of people that disagree with us on it, but apparently it's not just an issue that we're talking about here on the show.
Mm-hmm. And I'm very much like you, Noah. It goes completely over my head how all this sort of stuff works. And in the past, I've relied on UKUU to get me the latest kernel so that I can then just have the latest NVIDIA driver. But things are getting so complicated that even UKUU at the moment cannot give me a working 5.4 kernel that works with NVIDIA. I get left with one screen at 1024, and I have to keep reverting back to the 5.3 kernel. So even these really clever guys who make these wonderful tools and allow us to hack our systems are finding difficulty in keeping up with this technology. So it's really down to the big boys to do it properly for us, the users.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that the solution is very, very complicated, obviously, but the ABI structure is an interesting approach, and it's kind of the same way that Google wants to have the Linux kernel. They want to bring in the mainline Linux kernel into Android. That's one of the reasons they wanted an ABI to do that. And the reason is it's valid in the same time that it's also kind of problematic because it holds back the progress and the innovation. But if they were able to have an LTS that was it's weird because they have multiple LTSs and they support these LTS for a very long time, up to like 6 years or so. Yeah. So if they were to have like one ABI that's structured to a single LTS that is available for that amount of time, but they also continually build on top of that one rather than just doing maintenance, because the problem with this, the term stable release has nothing to do with stability, and it never has and it never will, because that word only means static movement. So that means if you have a security vulnerability, you'll get an update. If you have basically anything else, you're not going to get an update. That's what stable means in terms of Debian. When in terms of the kernel, the word just means static or not moving. They don't refer to it as stability, and that's the biggest issue, is because everybody else looks at that word meaning stability, and they don't, because that's not how they're using it. But they don't ever specify that's not how they're using it. So it creates this confusion with a lot of people. So I think the static approach of an LTS kernel would be good, or having some kind of separate thing where the modules can be injected in a different style, sort of like how you can install the graphics drivers with NVIDIA. Maybe you could have a separate thing where you can just do a plug-and-play structure. I'm not sure how complicated that would be. I assume pretty complicated, but I don't think any of us know of the solutions, and hopefully they will be able to, like Vetter's suggestions of doing these types of options. Hopefully they'll find one.
The NVIDIA thing, which is one of your suggestions, I thought was a great one at first. It seems to be backfiring. I'm hearing nothing but, and Zeb, you could maybe confirm some of this. Well, you kind of just did, but I'm hearing nothing but people saying there's issues now with NVIDIA, and going through the Reddit support forums, it seems like whatever has been done recently has messed up a lot of people's computers, where they're getting resolution issues, they're getting the no boot black screen issues. These seem to be coming back around, and NVIDIA releases through that driver method. So that doesn't seem to be.
I think that's different, because they also have all their stuff proprietary, so they're trying to make sure everything, they have to do everything themselves versus also utilizing the core of the kernel. But at the same time, they also, not even just the proprietary aspects, they also have a problem where they have their own particular term of like doing certain things that are not in the kernel. For example, when like the whole thing about Wayland not supporting NVIDIA for so long had nothing to do with Wayland making a decision. It was because NVIDIA insisted on using their particular structure in order to make support work for Wayland. But Wayland didn't want to do the work for them, and NVIDIA didn't want to do the work, so it created a problem, which is the EGL stream issue. So that problem existed because NVIDIA insisted on doing it their way. So if they're having issues now, it could be just because they insist on doing something that isn't compatible and therefore creating problems rather than the actual like third-party installing stuff.
Mm-hmm. And just one small caveat to the sort of like the static stable thing that you were talking about. Your stall behind you is very static, but it doesn't look stable at all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's because you have to stand on it.
I hate you guys.
If you can make that decision. I mean, some people are confused if they want to sit or stand. So
I hate you guys.
You've just given us too much.
We love you.
Opportunity, Michael. Sorry.
Virgin stool.
I'm gonna keep that in there. I don't care anymore.
I don't care anymore.
Well, that's good.
We've defeated Michael.
Some of the trolls I can't have in because they're too long and they take forever to get through. But that one was like,
that's just you being you.
That's just Patron benefit right there.
Right.
You want to see Michael get owned? Become a patron for just $1.
Well, that is definitely not going to go in the outro.
Oh.
But anyway, by the way, I was muted at the time, but ABI is a thing.
I know. I can't.
Yeah, why didn't you say something? I felt like such an idiot.
I did.
Like, ABI. I'm like,
I did, and it was muted.
I didn't hear you.
That's my. That's sure, but at the same time,
Michael. Yeah. Here's how this works. If you're muted, it doesn't count.
It does count. It does count because my mouth moved, and therefore it counted. It did. It did count. It did.
Michael. No, Michael.
I mean, technically, it's related to the Linux API, right?
Not really. I mean, yes, there's similar things. There are different approach to doing similar ideas. Like an API is so that you could have someone that is a third party that doesn't have access to anything being able to use stuff in your service. Whereas an ABI is very similar, but in a more of a structure of rather they can actually like put stuff into it as well as pull out, but it's also in a binary form. So it's not.
We should probably stop teasing our expert on the show, but go on.
Like it's.
No, we shouldn't.
No, we shouldn't.
It's not the same.
Know what an ABI is, but he still has a $5 stool.
$9. Thank you. It's super high end luxury at $9.
But you paid $9 for it.
It was $100 before I got the discount.
Nobody would pay $100 for that.
That's the normal price.
All $100 to you. Hey, let's go back to the show. I gotta take my kids to a birthday party.
All right, we got one more article.
$5 stool later.
Zeb.
Go 2 seconds.
So now we come to the gaming section, and I was actually quite looking forward to this this week because I thought, something where we can play a game and learn how to type as well. However, I clicked on the link.
You're welcome.
And I thought, do you know what, Ryan? Your poor graphics deserve a poor reply. So bear with me just one moment while I prepare my system to give you and the guys here a reply. So just 1 second.
Perhaps you view gaming as a waste of time when you could be learning a new skill or talent. But what if you could combine the two? Game and improve a skill. Type Night is the answer to all your woes. Move aside meme speaking as this pixel art fighting game will improve your typing skills and let you get your game on. Walk through a graveyard of enemies and type the words above the enemies' heads to kill them dead. You also have the option of importing your own dictionary of words into the game, so perhaps you could put some bash scripting command in there as well to help you memorize them. Overall for $3.99 I'd rather buy a Big Mac. You can't go wrong and you can improve your words type per minute while still slaughtering some undead.
Zeb, I'm shocked. You really didn't like this?
Actually, I think that's impressive.
Further evidence.
No, I think that's impressive.
Further evidence.
No, Zeb.
The game.
I'm impressed that you can do this. I'm impressed that you changed your accent so well. That was impressive, Zeb.
That is amazing.
Good job.
So you like Type Night though, because you learned something while you kill people, right?
Yeah, I learned never to trust Ryan again.
Well, no. Look, I know you love these type of games. In fact, there's more. There's another one that just came out called Boken, which is a dungeon crawler where you type as fast as you can and you kill the enemies. I mean, this is the thing. Think about how boring Mavis Beacon teaches typing is. And now you have the chance to walk into a pixelated world, type things really fast, and kill zombies and enemies and things. This is a brilliant idea, and it's just $3.99, Zeb.
I'd rather sit on Michael's stool for 8 hours.
Wow.
All right. Well, if you need to learn to type, or maybe you want to teach your kids to type or something like that, check out Type Night, because it's a pretty cool game. It is pixelated, but you get to basically improve your typing skills while playing a video game, and it's pretty inexpensive as well.
I actually think it's a pretty cool bullet game anyway. Just like the idea of using the game to learn stuff is always really cool, and I like when people do that. Even if it is pixelated for Zeb, I think the pixelization is a nice like retro style approach to it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But let's get down to the reality of this, okay? This game doesn't teach you typing in any way, shape, or form, because people are going to want to win the game. So they're going to sit there with their 2 fingers, spelling bread, spelling butter, spelling sausage, spelling whatever it is.
It's not a teaching of typing; it's a speed testing. It's you're learning to type fast.
You're not going to be sitting there with your fingers on the home keys, trying to type the words in the game without looking at your keyboard. So
you have to. That's actually one of the things you have to do, because
you'd have to, because you got enemies coming across and words popping up. You can't be staring down at your keyboard.
You have to read it's going to teach touch typing as well.
You're going to learn so much, Seb. This.
Come on, we'll get it for you. You'll learn.
Please save your money, Ryan. It will sit there in one of my games that says hours played 0.001.
Will you live stream it if I purchase it for you?
No. Definitely not.
Fine.
Well, there's definitely some benefits to it, and if anybody's interested, check it out, because it does have. I think it has a lot of potential for you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a gaming night sometime soon, and then in the collaborative section, we're gonna have Type Night, just so everybody knows.
Zeb, you're gonna play it one way or another, my friend.
Really? Watch this space.
And hey Zeb, I will, if you play that game in the stream, I will use the stool for that game.
There you go, Zeb. We get
the game or the whole. No, it's got to be the whole gaming night, not just one game.
Stool.
Deal.
You see that he bought
deal.
Oh, deal.
That took you a long time to come up with the answer.
Our patrons are excited.
I had to consider it, but
it's do 80 words per minute. He wants to play this, so look at that, man.
Yeah, deal.
All right. Noah could even play this one.
And in fact, 80 WPM is actually quite good for Michael, because it'll be 80 wobbles per minute.
He has to wobble with the keyboard. All right, let's finish up.
All right. So our spotlight this week is the KDE Education Suite. So you might not be aware, but KDE does more than just the Plasma Desktop. They create a lot of different programs. On addition to just being programs for the average user, there's also educational programs, and they have 25 of these programs based on the KDE technologies for students, parents, children, teachers, adults, and all kinds of stuff. And of course, it's open source software and everything like that. And they also have a thing called the Wiki to Learn project, which is an open source project to provide free and collaborative textbooks with the help of the world of university and academia. Awesome. Yeah, so it's really cool because it's creative for students and researchers and professors and everything like that to support free knowledge worldwide by creating the notes for their classes and doing it in a collaborative way where they can integrate and review it with each other and help each other get better notes and therefore benefit and they're learning, as well as also helping check things for teachers and also like they're creating their own notes. And it just does a really cool thing about like just sharing this approach to have a collaborative approach to education, and also that doing that they think about textbooks is what's really cool, because you can actually share information information about various textbooks, and they'll actually like be able to scan stuff so that you don't have to pay $1,000 for a book, because that's basically how it is, at least in the U.S. anyway.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, so it's a really cool project, and if you want to learn more, we'll have a link to the educational section on the kde.org website. All right, go 2 seconds, Noah.
Over the past few weeks, we've talked about IP security cameras and trying to bring them home and onto your LAN and how to set them up and different things you can buy. But maybe you're saying to yourself, hey, I don't want to buy something. I want to build something because I'm a nerd and I like building things. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
If you really want to take control of your privacy and your ownership, what you really have to do is build your own camera. And it turns out it's not that hard to do. All you need is a Raspberry Pi, a USB camera, and some free software that's available on GitHub, and you can make your own ONVIF compliant camera. If you need a refresher, ONVIF is the standard that all IP cameras are supposed to conform to if you want them to be interoperable with other devices. And so if you took my advice and purchased a Synology Disk Station to run Surveillance Station on, and you were looking for a camera that you could put, I don't know, in some place that you wanted to make sure that it was private, don't go buy a Axis camera. Don't go buy a Hikvision and let the Chinese government spy on you. No, go get a Raspberry Pi, go get a USB camera, plug it in yourself and have some fun. Turn it to a project with the kids and make your own ONVIF camera and or NVR based on a Raspberry Pi. We'll have the link for you in the show notes, directions on exactly how to do it. Check it out.
Very cool.
Nice.
Go 2 seconds.
So a big thank you to each and every one of you for watching, listening, however you do it, to Destination Linux. And we love our patrons. Our patrons get to sit and listen to the show live with us as we record it and give us lots of feedback into the Telegram comments.
Sit or stand, it's up to them. They can choose.
That whole thing up. Yeah, let me try that again.
All right, go 2 seconds.
Ready? So a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting by watching or listening to Destination Linux. We love our patrons. They get to join us as we record the live show and give us feedback directly, which sometimes helps change our decision or at least give a differing point of view on the topics that we're covering. If you want to join in the live show, you can become a patron as well. We also added sponsors to the mix, so you become a sponsor in sponsors if you don't want to join on Patreon. The fee for joining is darn near free. It is a super low price every month. And you also, if you can't join us live, get the option to get an unedited version of the episode that you can listen to at any time.
Noah, it is your turn now.
Come on, Noe.
Dang it, I messed it up again. I'm sorry.
Quit shopping for stools.
Right. Speaking of support, become a part of the community by going to destinationlinux.network and joining our forums, our Mumble server, and all of the other things that we have available for you there. Did you know that we have a new podcast called DLN Extend? Yeah, that's right. It's kind of like cops, except for Linux. They come and tell us all the things that we did wrong and then take us to task. You can listen to that, and it can be the after show of the podcast, diving into the topics that we cover into our own shows, providing a different perspective, and they tell us essentially why they think that we're wrong, and we appreciate them. We are right, and we'll defend that the next episode, and if that doesn't work, we'll eventually just cancel the show. But hey, for now, go ahead and check out DLN Extend. Let us know what you think. We also have Linux for everyone. DOS Geek, This Week in Linux, Ask Noah, So, Tux Digital, Zebedee Boss. If you want Linux content, there's only one place to get it. It's destinationlinux.network. Check it out there. Become a part of the community. Make your voice heard, and it's a two-way communication street. You get to define the content that we make for you. Help us help you. Destinationlinux.network. Check it out.
So please get back to us and provide us some feedback. And I know we ask this question every single week, but we really do mean it. Yeah. Without you guys sending in those emails, the beginning of the show wouldn't have some of those fantastic discussions that we've been having. So send that email into comments@destinationlinux.org. We have our Telegram group. We have Discord, Discourse, Twitter, Mastodon, and a whole host of other ways that Michael has put up for us on destinationlinux.org/contact. So please keep those comments and questions coming. We love reading them and hearing of ways we might be able to improve the show. Finally, don't forget to join our Mumble server. chat with the community, set up gaming sessions, and enjoy networking.
And if you want some more content, the fun doesn't stop here. We also have our own channels you can check out. You can check out Ryan by going to youtube.com/DasGeek, where he fills your brains on hardware, software, and all things Linux. You can check out Zeb's content at youtube.com/ZebedeeBoss, where you can find him playing games like Project Cars, Euro Truck Simulator, and other things on his Zebedee Gaming YouTube channel. You can find my content at tuxdigital.com, where I do an in-depth weekly Linux news podcast called This Week in Linux, and other Linux-related content sometimes. And you can also check out Ask Noah Show, where he has the weekly talk radio show at 6 p.m. Central on Tuesdays. You can join him, and he'll answer your Linux and tech questions at the AskNoahShow.com. And also be sure to share the show on social media and like that still button.
Really, nobody else is gonna laugh at that. Nobody else thinks that's funny. Like the whole episode, we've been chastising him, and he drops a joke at the very last part, and nobody laughs at it. You guys are ridiculous.
I was just smirking.
I was laughing.
It was well placed because as he said it, I was typing, and don't forget, smash that stall button.
Yeah, I was already gonna say it, and he starts typing. I was like, "Yep, definitely saying it now."
Does anybody in the notes it says Mitchell can be found at
Yes, Noah put it there for sure. And
no, I did not.
Not this time. That was he copied and pasted from like 2 weeks ago or something. I just ignore it every time.
Oh, okay.
every week?
Yeah, I just ignore it. But anyway, so Noah, you're doing the final thingy.
Outro.
Yeah, that's thingy. So go 2 seconds.
Everybody have a great week, and remember that the journey itself is just as important as the stool you're sitting on. Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
That was good. No, I was trying to think what to change it to, and I couldn't think of anything. You nailed it, man.
We gotta have something there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. I gotta go. You better take a stretch and go lean on your stool, Michael.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
You probably need to stand or sit or hybrid.
Or hybrid.
He can't decide. He can't decide.
What's disappointing is that you messed up and you didn't hear my joke because you messed up the beginning of the outro. You were like, they just sit there, and I go, no. They sit or stand. It's their choice.
But I missed it as well in the Patron chat where somebody was on about convergence, but it was stool vergence or something.
Yeah, convergent stools.
Convergent stools.
Okay, I gotta run. I'm 9 minutes late for a birthday party.
yeah.
I love
See
you
ya.
guys. See you next week.
See you later.
See ya. Thanks, man.
Bye.
Friday.
Patrons,
Friday.
please join us. Turn on your webcams.
That was an awesome episode.
You say so.
I don't think I have laughed so much
Oh
in
my God.
such a long time. I haven't
1.0
had a belly
years.
laugh like that for yonks. That just did me in.
Anything
Sorry.
at Michael's expense is hilarious.
It's always great.
Apparently.
How can such little thing be so funny?
Well, it's like the Peter Sellers, where all the gangsters get into the lift and then someone like drops a, and it's just these actors reacting to such a stupid thing. 4 guys in this confined lift, and it's like.
It is
And
amazing
even-
that we took a stool and managed to stretch it out into an entire episode.
To say it like this, Michael, I think your $9 was a worthwhile investment after all.
It was. It made the whole
It was
show.
worthwhile anyway because it was only $9.
Well, you got ripped off on that part. But now that we were able to use
Oh
it for
my
content.
God.
But at least I bought one of your shirts, so I guess I bought you.
That helped pay for the stool.
I founded your stool, damn it.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Hey.
Yep.
Hello.
Derek.
Hold on a second. Let me change my audio settings.
No problem.
Audio settings.
Derek, you look way more relaxed than we.
I tend to be.
Yeah, I like it. So can you give
And
us
it
some sneak peek into what's going on at UB Ports? Come on. Give us something we don't know. Give our patrons something.
Oh, you
Be a
asking me?
stool pigeon.
Yeah, you.
Well, I am not allowed to speak without Dalton.
Oh, come on. Just this once.
Well,
Like me and Peppermint. Just can't do it, can you, Marius?
Don't feel pressured. I'm teasing.
fine phone. Fine phone.
Nice.
You got a pine phone in your hand? Does it make calls?
Does it make calls?
What was really interesting about
Does the
that,
camera work at all?
Ryan, I spent hours trying to find that post again where somebody had put up the recording of the Pine phone. It was Lucas and a developer from somewhere.
It was me.
And they were having a conversation, and I can't find it for love nor money. So somebody obviously decided, you know what? This was too big a dig at Libra, and we better take it down.
I don't think so. It probably just got lost in...
Well,
Marius, did you say it was you?
Yeah, it was me and Lucas.
Oh, you and Lucas. Wow, cool.
I can find it. Here it is.
Look, 3 seconds. Come on, Zeb. Learn to use what do you use? Google over there?
No, he's got it. He's got it on his hard disk. He's not looked up on.
No, I just looked up on.
He just put it right
from
there.
Reddit, the Reddit page.
Seconds.
Oh, on the see, I don't use Reddit, so there you go.
You're missing out.
So so there you go. There's a link to it, and you can actually hear
All the
them
young kids these days
talking.
Use you need to get on Reddit to be hip with the times.
To be hip with the times.
Young, really?
You can be young at heart. You know, my dad says when he looks in the mirror, he still sees a 20-year-old version of himself. You know.
Does he want to borrow
That's
these?
called delusions.
Oh, delusions.
Did he miss
Well, that's called
pills?
Alzheimer's.
I think I told that story. No, actually, I did tell that wrong. What he says is he can't believe when he looks in the mirror because in his mind he still thinks.
Correct.
Yes.
That's
He looks in the mirror, he realizes he's an old man. You know.
That's a bit different.
Yeah. I can
feel
relate.
Maybe he's actually sees a 20-year-old himself. Is like he's got some other issues.
My dad's only 20 though, so I don't know.
So that makes you what, 7?
Yes.
No,
I'm
9.
a big 7-year-old.
No alcohol for you then.
Too late. I've got a lot of soldiers over here.
Well, at least I can see a 20-year-old when I see myself in mirror.
Are you only 20?
21.
You can go off some people, you know.
21. To be 21
Wow.
again. Chris, what would we do different if we were 21 again?
Not do this.
I've never signed up for this podcast.
Heck, I'll be 41 on Friday.
No kidding. I'm getting close to my 40s. A couple years off. Chris is still in his late 20s, right, Chris?
Me?
Yeah.
45.
Oh.
So late 20s.
Really? Late 20s, huh?
He still sees a 20-year-old too. He's got delusions too.
I don't know what I would do when I grow up.
Yeah. I don't want to grow up. That's the problem. Everybody tells you
Exactly.
growing up's so great, and it's not. It's stupid.
Well, hey, Michael, is that gray or stool in your hair?
Neither.
Well, speaking about aging, they just found out that they could reverse or slow down the aging of cells now. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Well, they've been saying that forever, though, haven't
I
they?
needed that 22 years ago. It's a bit late now.
I mean, Walt Disney's Frozen, so...
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, he's frozen dead, but still.
Zeb.
Well, I don't think you can freeze yourself with current technology.
No, you
that's
can't.
just-
There's actual cryogenic companies, and it's funny because there was this cryogenic company. It's funny in a weird way because obviously these people it's basically dead, so that sucks. But there's one company was going bankrupt, so they had to turn off the cryogenics and stuff.
Oh no!
And it's
Well,
like
the good news for you
wow.
guys is that
Think about
as and when I do die, I will still be wearing this shirt when I'm in the coffin.
Do I get
I'm
you
just gonna change it to Zebedee Dead Boss. Zebedee Dead Boss.
He's just gonna get a stamp that says dead, just like snap it on the shirt.
Ryan,
dead.
You should get the new Ryzen 9.
I got the 3900X. I mean,
Zebedee boss.
Yeah, Zebedee Dead Boss.
50.
Oh, I like
Zebedee
it.
Dead Boss.
oh, you're talking about the Threadripper version.
No, the one with 64 cores, 16 cores.
16 cores, 32 threads. Is that the 3950X?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah,
released
okay. Yeah.
Now, I saw something on YouTube today that Brightech was talking about. Aren't there overheating issues with that at the moment?
Well,
I've
if you
not
use
heard
a
of
Anybody
stock,
else heard that?
if you use a stock cooler, there is some thermal throttling. But on this bad boy, I have liquid cooling.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you
so-
get the nice all-in-one kit. Now, I think the 3950X is the one that doesn't come with a cooler. So people probably are sticking the wrong coolers on them and having
Yeah, sticking the old cooler, the old stock cooler they
Yeah.
had with the previous generation Ryzen.
That was the thing I was really pleased about when I bought my Threadripper from PC Specialist in the UK. I can't remember the name of it now, but they stuck one of those huge brown, massive fans. It begins with N.
Noctua.
Noctua, that's it. Yeah, they put this huge fan, and I've never yet seen my CPU, no matter what game I play, whether it be Knights Typing or Rise of the Tomb Raider. I've never seen it go over sort of like 64, 65 degrees in temperature because of the cooler that's going on in the whole system. And I'm sure that it's helping move air around the whole box as well as cooling the CPU. It's great.
I use that same cooler you're talking about there, the DH15, I think is what I have. It's a giant twin tower, twin fan cooler.
Yes.
Basically, the more thermal mass there is, the more heat it can dissipate.
Yeah, he actually Ryan's case is basically like an open side case where you can have like it's more airflow and whatever, and it still barely fits in that thing.
Yeah, it's a massive, ridiculous looking cooler. I'm probably going to do a liquid cool build on this just because people keep asking about it. Won't shut up, even though I'm not a big fan of it. But I'll do a custom.
Why not go the full mineral oil build?
Oh my gosh!
Get the kind where it's got neon colors that go through it as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
have a tux at the bottom of the tank.
And I'm actually changing my mind about these water-cooled systems because, again, I saw a J2 Sense video, and I don't know if anybody else saw it, but he actually hooked up this graphics card cooler and was pumping pressurized air into it. And it wasn't until he got up to something stupid like 35 psi that this thing suddenly went poof and sort of like shot off into the sky. But what was really interesting was when he looked at the actual radiator, the radiator was still there, reasonably in shape. And all that had happened is the nozzle at the end had sort of like bent and come out of the actual radiator itself. So he's got a whole article on, don't worry about your system blowing up and dripping because who's going to put 35 psi?
So wrong in that. It has nothing to do with the psi. He's not wrong there. It's that. Okay, so what Marius has there is a closed loop system. So you can't. The leak's nearly impossible. That's fine for water cooling. Get yourself a closed loop system. These custom builds, the leaks happen because people are melting the tubes themselves. Right. And they're not doing it correctly. You're supposed to have material that's inside. You have to use certain heat. It takes a long time. I see people doing it in the videos all the time where they're taking the heat gun, they're turning it all the way up, and they're making their bends, which is creating weak points into the plastic that eventually are going to spring leaks. Additionally, when they're doing their own custom builds, they use the cheap connectors to it, or the O-rings go bad over time and they're not replacing O-rings on the system. So people who keep their systems for really long times, or it could be a very small leak that they're not detecting in addition to it. So it's just, I don't think your average consumer who is not grown up or in the IT world should be slapping custom loop system.
Oh, absolutely not. No, if you're going to buy this stuff, buy it from a proper manufacturer who has the technology and the knowledge and the skill to put it all together. Yeah.
But I feel like we have come to a point where the custom loops are so good that you don't really need custom unless you want to cool your GPU at the same time.
I agree. If you go a closed loop system like you have right there, perfectly fine. They're so good. And when the problem is when those do break, a lot of times I've noticed people don't realize they're not working anymore. Depending on the one you buy, some of them have lights, some of them have notification systems on that will let you know that they've actually stopped pumping liquid. But otherwise, you just basically start having random freezes and things like that. because there's nothing to tell you that the closed loop is no longer pumping water, or that the water has evaporated, or the liquid that they've used has evaporated out. Now, if you use a really good brand like Corsair, you generally don't have that issue, but there's a lot of generic Chinese made versions of these closed loop systems that suck.
Yeah.
All right, then, boys and girls, look, I've got to go because it's I don't know, 9:20, and I've got to be up at 4 tomorrow for work. So wonderful show. Thanks very much indeed, guys. Patrons, you just kept me smiling the whole show. Thank you very, very much.
You guys make
it was brilliant.
Yep.
And I'm just gonna cover the camera up because
he likes to hear what we're talking about when we
just
leave.
to check whether you're talking about me.
Oh, we are. You don't have to check.
Yeah, we are. Don't worry.
Yeah. But I built a self-made water cooling, and it is a hell to maintain, though.
Yes, you have to constantly refill them. And think about that: you've got to pour water into your case, into a very tiny hole that you're refilling in the middle of all your electronics.
Funnels exist, Ryan.
What's that?
Funnels exist.
They do.
Well, funnels exist, but they are still a clumsy hands for myself to.
Depending on how your case is set up and everything else, you could make a real problem for yourself. I just don't like people going out and suggesting these. I think these 16, 18-year-old kids go out there and watch these videos of mineral oil and decapping their CPU and custom water solutions and end up ruining what took them 3 years to save up for because some dude do it on YouTube.
My brother would do that in a heartbeat, and he's like 14. So
exactly. It's not that they can't. Some of them do it and do it well. It's just there's a lot of risk in it. But the closed loops have gotten so good that
in a mineral oil, or can't you submerge the whole board?
The whole machine.
Yeah.
What is the downside to doing that other than cost?
Messy.
Super messy.
You don't ever take the motherboard out. You just leave it in there, right?
Well, imagine trying to resell your components afterwards of being dipped in mineral oil. But also, it does eventually.
Something dies.
Yeah, depending if you use the wrong cabling or things like that, eventually that mineral oil can get into parts that would break things. Like for instance, if you store your power supply in mineral oil, good luck. The whole thing.
Yeah, and also the electric. Yeah, I can't never say this well, but the capacitors on the board usually soak up the liquid, and that really screws with the capacity.
Yeah. This is stuff that people who get the processors for free, which is like your Linus and all of them, they have so many processors for free, so they do all these ridiculous things, but they don't ever say a lot of times in their video, this is stupid, don't do this, we're doing this for fun. Like, because they just, I think, mislead people into thinking that. But Ryder, I was curious, do you think, because I'm actually a little bit worried about this, we were too rough on Ubuntu Cinnamon? Because I didn't want to discourage them. And it sounds like you were interested in this distro.
So, I mean, I have no personal interest in Ubuntu Cinnamon myself. Like, I'm not invested at all. I would just like to see how they're doing it and going about it. I don't think you guys were too hard. Like, you were about as hard as I probably would be. Like, okay, why does this exist?
Right.
But I, as somebody who really likes the Cinnamon desktop environment and who would like the latest and greatest version of Cinnamon on the latest Ubuntu releases, you can't get that right now without Ubuntu Cinnamon.
Mint? You're not a fan of Mint?
No, because as a gamer, I had problems with Linux Mint, and I have seen people who have had problems with Linux Mint on like the R Linux for Noobs. And so it's like, yes, Cinnamon is a really great desktop environment for new users from Windows because of the Windows hotkeys that it has, and just the layout that it has. And it's basically like KDE, but dumbed down enough that Windows users could use it right off the bat.
And doesn't have stupid defaults like Plasma. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Although Kubuntu is not as bad anymore.
Right. Yeah. And I really enjoy Kubuntu. And so for the longest time, up until Ubuntu Cinnamon, I've had to point people towards Kubuntu if they come from Windows, because I didn't trust Linux Mint for their security issues or for their stance on Wayland, or because if they were a gamer, their OpenGL could just break. I was having problems with a couple of games where there would just be dark. It would be missing shader or not shaders, but
Buffer
missing
issues?
textures
Okay.
on characters. It would just be black, and so I eventually fixed that by going to Arch.
Although
Yeah.
although Ryan had that exact issue on Arch.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you
It wasn't
did.
on Arch. No,
Well-
that was on MX.
Oh, when we did the
that's-
Left 4 Dead?
I know what you're talking about, but that was related to OBS was recording it that way because I was using that new encoding.
Oh, okay.
And when I turned that off, it took it away. That was an encoding issue. But the reason why I had what he's talking about was in MX is because I was going to play CSGO with Dolphin and all the characters were that way. And Dolphin went in and pulled in a texture pack that's just for something that just Valve utilizes that he didn't pull in before and fixed it. There's some texture pack that doesn't come a part of their game, but you have to install separately into the OS, which was weird.
Yeah, so it has to do something with how OpenGL is being rendered with that current driver. It's a little bit above my pay grade because I don't touch that stuff.
Right.
But I was having that issue, and then recently there was somebody who had an RX 570, I think, on Linux for Noobs, and they were using Linux Mint, and apparently the information for that or the driver for that isn't in the kernel that ships with Linux Mint, and because UKUU no longer has the free version, it's like your best bet is to go to something like Kubuntu or Ubuntu Cinnamon. And so I think that Ubuntu Cinnamon is the mint that we should have had instead of the mint that we got.
What's the thing about Wayland? You said doesn't they just use Mutter? Should have Wayland support.
Honestly, I don't know. I just know that about 2 years ago, they had a bug report on their tracker, and they were saying, "Hey, you should have Wayland support." And they said, "Thanks, but we're going to close this issue. It's going to be on the back burner, and we're not going to do anything about it."
They don't use Mutter.
And
Oh no, they
use
forked-
Muffin,
Muffin.
which is a fork of Mutter.
back in 2013 before they had Wayland support.
Yeah, a while
Yeah.
ago.
And so there's like no plans for Wayland.
Cinnamon looks good, but it has performance problems too with the whole one thread, just like GNOME does.
Does it only have one thread?
One thread. Yep, one thread.
Oh,
Mutter is a terrible compositor.
Yeah, because
I'm sticking with
because it's a fork of GNOME, so it has the same problems that GNOME has because they forked it really early, and they've only fixed like a few things. So that they're debating on whether or not they're gonna like rewrite Cinnamon essentially or refork it. You know,
the answer
Please
is
do.
yes. If it's
Yeah.
on
One of the
they're deciding
one of
like
the
whether
things
they're
that-
gonna rewrite, whether they're gonna try to change the existing Cinnamon into single multi-process or refork whenever GNOME does it, because GNOME hasn't done it either.
But the thing that I heard Noah says is that he said that why don't they go and contribute to Linux Mint instead? But that argument could be flipped and say, didn't the Linux Mint developers contribute to Ubuntu instead?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the same thing is that they wanted to make their own DE, but they could have done it the same way. Like they could have just made an official flavor with their own DE if they wanted to.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I mean, look, somebody has the talent to go out there and I guess do this and set it up, and they're pushing for it. I didn't want to, throw up all of their dreams, but at the same time, I was just sitting here like, this. Why? What are we gaining out of this? But
I think it's a good idea, to be honest, though.
Yeah,
I don't think you were harshing anyone's mellow, so I think you're good.
nice.
And the thing is that Linux Mint doesn't do it, what do we say, the correct way. Look at Pop! OS, for example. That's a great example on how to do this correctly. Where you overlay stuff on top of Ubuntu, and then you contribute back to Ubuntu to improve both your own system and to improve the overall Debian/Ubuntu system.
True.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to head out and get some food myself. Thank you guys for making it entertaining for us during the show. As Zeb said, I appreciate it.
I
Thank you,
ate
Michael, for buying a stool.
before I got back on.
you're welcome, DeLuca.
What did DeLuca say?
He said, "Thanks, Michael, for buying that stool."
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That made everybody's day.
You should have a wonderful stool.
You should have
the rest
a
of the day.
award called the Stoolies.
So Ryan, before you go, we
Yeah.
need to make Zeb try to play Dwarf Fortress.
Dwarf Fortress.
Keep in mind, he's still listening.
We're still in here.
Sort of.
got the-
Yeah.
It's
He hasn't
got the
left his
greatest
stool.
3D graphics. What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh, this is brilliant.
Is it
This
on
is going to be
Steam?
the game of the week next week.
Yes, I believe it is.
Dwarf Fortress.
It's so bad.
Oh my god.
Hey, is the game fun, Ryder?
What?
Is
Oh,
it
that's
actually
better.
a fun game? Have you ever played it?
I mean, I can't get into it, but if I were able to get into it, I'm sure that I would love it because it's a lot like Cities Skylines.
Oh, nice.
Not going to happen.
Told you.
This looks ridiculous. Yeah.
Dang it, I should have waited a little bit later.
I personally want to check out this game called Hades that Jason was showing off in one of his last videos.
Hades, is that the new Magic one? Magic
Don't
the
think
Gathering,
so.
or is it just
No.
called Hades?
It's called
Okay.
Hades.
Awesome.
Okay, fine, Zeb. If not Dwarf Fortress, how about Baba Is You?
Papa is you.
Baba. B-A-B-A.
Baba is you.
It's a puzzle game with the amazing 3D graphics of Euro Truck Simulator.
Oh, he would love this. Oh yeah, this is definitely right up his alley. It's gorgeous. Look at those graphics. And by graphics, I mean pixels.
Yeah, and by pixels he means 3.
Also, Ryan, before you leave, I need to show you something.
Yeah, show me.
So you asked about if there was something new in Ubuntu Touch.
Yes.
And there is. This is the OnePlus 3 running ARM64, which is our latest and greatest things we have been working on. And just look at the speed improvements we have been working on, if I can start an application.
Oh my
yeah.
god.
Nice.
Wow.
Let's see another application. It's already started. It's because
That's insane.
Can you make a call with it?
yes.
It's
course you
amazing.
can.
That's a question we have to ask on a phone.
Are you able to actually talk with the person? Because you can still make a call.
Well, it doesn't have a SIM card, but I can call 911.
That's fair.
Well,
Please
show
don't
us.
call.
Well,
Let's talk to the 911
Prove it.
operator about Linux.
Here's a good question. Can you print on it?
Yeah,
Ooh,
Yes.
that is a great question.
you can print. Nice.
Does it use cups?
So you use for work, Ryan. You use an iPhone because you have to, right? Or is
I
that
use
your
both.
personal?
I have a S9 and an iPhone.
So what do you use as a daily driver if you don't want to use Android?
iPhone.
Okay, what do you use on the other one?
Well, I use the other one for testing for, getting the signal strength and things like that for different towers between Android and iPhone. So that's purely work, whereas my iPhone is my work and personal mixed in for a couple of reasons. One, they use encrypted text messaging, which is important by default. And two, they don't phone home nearly as much as an Android device. So
Yeah, I know all about the iPhone, but I can't cross over that line. I can't become an
I get
iCard.
it. I think the best option is either I do not honestly think the best option is custom Android anymore because I'm just seeing so many. In fact, we had one on our forum getting a virus from that. What is it? Lineage or Lineage OS?
Lineage?
Lineage.
No. Lineage.
No.
Lineage?
It was Lineage that he was using. The problem is that he also randomly installed some APK and didn't know where it came from.
But that's my problem with
yeah,
people
that's a big-
going out and customizing their Android is that you can't really trust that store doesn't have viruses and things in it either, unless you're personally checking those packages. And the teams that are developing it, I don't think they're big enough to perform that. So
F-Droid's pretty big. The problem is that this person didn't get the stuff from F-Droid. It was a random APK from some website, and that was the issue.
I don't know who has done the testing to say F-Droid has a bunch of apps that are safe, though.
I don't know if anybody has done the testing, honestly.
I mean, I know they're doing all the work on Ubuntu Touch and they're pushing hard for it, but it's not. It can't become a daily driver yet, right? I mean, you're not gonna...
depending on what you do with it. Yes, like
I use it as a daily driver.
I was gonna say no. I would think you can use it as a daily driver unless you have specific apps.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if you're one of those people that has to have the banking app and the credit card app that you utilize and that type of stuff, then no, you're probably going to have some issues.
I can do banking through the browser on a phone.
If you just need text messaging, phone, basic apps, browser access to do searches, all of that, UBports absolutely
it does everything that a phone does.
Yes,
but
like
it's only
phone calls,
apps,
right.
Like phone calls. I would have shown you, but I forgot my SIM card.
It is just the apps that you're really missing.
Yeah,
on it.
But it does work fundamentally completely. I used it for 2 months completely, like primary, nothing else, and it was totally fine. There was a few things that I wanted to do that was problematic, but it was just because of the app's availability.
I think the biggest issue I ran into when I ran it as a daily driver was, at the time, and this is months ago, GPS. Like, I get lost in a McDonald's parking lot, and I need a strong GPS. And if I recall, they had a GPS app in the App Store, but it was pretty crappy.
So the situation there has changed dramatically, because now we have something called Pure Maps, which I can actually install here, which is a completely new based on the one that Sailfish uses.
OpenStreetMaps or another one?
It is OpenStreetMaps.
Gotcha.
Then what is the phone to run that on?
Well, that for
Just
example,
multiples.
OnePlus 3 is probably the best bet right now. It's the one that is our most powerful.
And Chris, the coolest part of what they did, I don't know how you guys did this, but if you've ever rooted and played with the phone operating system, it's the biggest pain in the butt, honestly. But the Ubuntu Touch, you download the app, you plug in your phone, and it does it all for you. Everything.
Yeah, I remember you all talking about that in that episode.
It's so good, the installer. It's so good.
So the OnePlus 3.
Unfortunately, my carrier will only allow Samsung and iPhone for bring your own device.
Oh, really?
So you're saying the OnePlus 3, a $100 phone on eBay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The OnePlus 3, like I actually have a OnePlus 1, and it was, and prior to the support for the OnePlus 3, that was the best version, best phone to get. But the OnePlus 3 is much better than the previous version. So, like, if you wanted that, that's a really good option.
Is there a difference? What's the difference between OnePlus 3 and OnePlus 3T?
They both supported, but yeah, there are performance things.
Negligible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Difference.
I'm currently running an S9 Plus. What am I going to notice in processing power and speed? And am I going to be disappointed?
I think it will be just as fast, because you won't have all the apps and overlays and everything else. And so for what you use it for, I think it'll be just as snappy. And I can say that based on so Samsung is taking Google, then they're throwing an overlay interface on it, but you've got super fast
all their
processor, you've got a ton of RAM, and you got all this stuff. But in the Ubuntu Touch side, you're not running all of the overlays and everything else either. So I think you're not going to really notice the speed difference. What you're going to notice, again, is missing apps. When your friend says, "Hey, download this, new app," you're not going to have it.
Yeah, that's not me. A few apps, a few games, Telegram, something to pass the time.
Yeah, Telegram was on there.
Yeah.
Telegram. We also had a new Teleports app, which is the new Telegram app, which has been completely redesigned.
Come on, Chris, you can do it. Tell us how you like it.
And it's now even
I can do it.
Come on,
even faster than what the Telegram app on Android is, because it uses the new TD-lib. Which
nice.
If you try Telegram X on Android,
that's what I run.
Yeah, that's the same that we're running there. So
very cool stuff, man. All right, I'm gonna go for real this time. See y'all.
See you
later.
Thanks, everyone.
My only downside is, like, we just got the kids a couple of tablets for Christmas, and I just finished setting up Google Family Link to control what the tablets can and can't do, and give them it's bedtime, shut the tablet down, sort of thing. So I guess I'm not going to get rid of my Google stuff anytime soon. But as everything goes on, and of course, as I just finished watching, what was that? The movie Noah suggested. Noah and Ryan were talking about Snowden.
Citizen 4, yeah.
Citizen 4, yeah.
I was about to say Channel 4, yeah.
Then I'm about to get his book, and the more I read, and the more I'm like, it's time to get away from Google. It's finally time to pull the trigger.
But you can also just get a device to just play around with. Since it is pure Linux, you can actually just SSH into it and.
Oh yeah, yeah, $100. That's not bad.
I didn't know the OnePlus 3 was that cheap. That's pretty good.
Well, I see one on eBay for $100. I see it on Newegg for $200.
In Newegg, they will be new then, or?
That's probably a refurb.
Oh.
I found one for $80 on eBay.
But cell phone wise, my provider's the Comcast version of Google Fi. I paid $12 a gig for data, and
ouch.
Well, it's dirt cheap. I don't pay for phone or texting at all. So if I use 1 or 2 gigs of data, it's $24 plus tax.
Yeah, but you can get like unlimited for like $30.
I pay $45 a month. It's unlimited. I average about 3 to 4 gigs of data a month. So
yeah, but also you get unlimited text and talk and stuff.
Text and talk, yeah.
But one thing is a bit challenging for us, especially in the US market, is CDMA. And also, I'm not sure if is it Verizon or something like that. They seem to block devices left and right.
Verizon is very annoying about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Sprint also has CDMA, but they have also like a combination sort of now. But they're also CDMA.
CDMA is just so proprietary. It's insane.
Yeah, it's also ancient, and it's weird that people are still that companies are still using it. But the reason why is because Verizon is the biggest network. They've actually rolled out the most stuff. So the fact that it's in CDMA is actually probably like the worst part because they're the biggest one.
But I'm not sure what's the reason why they went with that when the entire rest of the world went with GSM.
Because they're Americans, man. We know better.
We do our own we do our own thing.
We can just throw a TIN card in it, right?
Will
the OnePlus 3 do both CDMA and GSM?
I'm pretty sure it does both. I think it has the software version where you can switch it.
Around here, everything uses the same tower, whether you're AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, or Sprint. All use the same towers because of the fact that the towers in the area are all owned by a rural provider.
That's
They're
interesting.
all leased out. It's the most messed up thing ever I've ever seen.
In Norway,
use CDMA or GSM?
In Norway, you have to open your cell tower to other providers. So when you build a cell tower, you must be able to rent it out space for other providers.
What was your question, Ryder?
Oh, does Sprint use GSM or CDMA?
CDMA mostly.
Oh, do they have GSM? Does Sprint have GSM?
They're sort of rolling out stuff with GSM.
Well, that's new on me. I never heard that one. Good on them.
It's because of the whole WiMAX situation they had.
Well, I really hope LTE will really take off because then the protocol is just so much easier.
No, the problem is that you can have LTE on CDMA.
Ugh.
So you can still use CDMA and have an LTE thing.
I found a rabbit hole you don't want to go down.
But the LTA is a different protocol from.
Oh, you said LTA?
LTA.
Okay, yeah, never mind. I thought you said LTE.
So did I.
A little different.
Yeah, but the OnePlus 3 has support for CDMA and GSM built into it, so you can use both, whatever. There also is that T-Mobile Sprint merger where there might be a gigantic company with one of the two, which doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's insane that T-Mobile would be the one buying Sprint. It makes no sense to me.
how does the anti-competitor laws work there?
Well, it can't be a monopoly, so they couldn't. If they were the only two, they couldn't merge. But because AT&T and Verizon are both bigger, their argument is that they should be able to merge because those two are bigger and they're still two.
Right.
So that they're suggesting that it's possible.
They're also using the little companies like your Boost Mobile and.
Well, those are just those are NVMEs. So
I know they're using that as an excuse too.
Which makes no sense considering they still require those networks. The only thing is like, I think that the problem with, I think Sprint is the most reasonable company in terms of telephone companies. Like as far as like how they treat customers, how their connections and their reach is not as good. But the way they treat customers is much better than T-Mobile, and also T-Mobile like pretends that they're so great. We're the uncarrier, except we'll still charge you $500 for a freaking Wi-Fi expander, or the microcell things where they expand your connection through Wi-Fi. That stuff.
Oh, AT&T stopped offering those. You can't buy them anymore.
I got mine when I had T-Mobile. All I had to do was put down a $20 deposit.
Yeah. The problem is that they make that device worth like $700, even though it's not.
But don't you guys have voice over Wi-Fi over there?
Some people, some services, some phones do.
Yeah, some phones.
No, I'm saying like some of them allow it and some of them don't. Like some of the services, some of the carriers don't even allow it. Like Sprint allows it.
AT&T has it, but I'm using a third-party provider called Straight Talk, which actually runs on all of AT&T, and I cannot do it, despite the fact that this phone's capable.
Right. So Straight Talk allows you to have like multiple different networks you can connect to, and they don't allow that service. And also Boost, I don't think Boost allows it. All the big four do, but actually I don't know if Verizon does or not, but the other three do.
I really hope for those like voice over LTE and voice over Wi-Fi and stuff like that to take off and be bigger, because it's just so much easier to implement on the system level.
Yeah.
Because everything goes over HTTP.
I just found out that there was you know how for years iPhone has done all of its texting. It's not actually sending text. It's encapsulating it. It's going through all their servers and stuff. It's got
RCS.
I'm not sure what it is. You know, the ability to watch someone with an iPhone, you can watch someone respond to your text message, and you can do that.
It's RCS.
Yeah,
Google's.
Yeah, well, Google's starting to do that now, and it's only on what is it, 10? Whatever number 10 is, and because the carriers aren't allowing. How did he tell me that? The carriers aren't allowing it, so Google's just saying heck with it, and they're writing it into their new messenger.
Yeah. So Google is doing something extremely shady here, because RMS is supposed to be this neutral thing that the vendor should implement themselves.
Everybody needs to implement Stallman.
Yeah, but here Google comes in and says, "Let's just put my server here."
Did you say Stuhlman?
Nice, nice.
Okay,
sorry.
But but Google just comes along and says, "Hey, if you don't want to support it, I will just put my server in between here and intercept every single message." So, and that's what they are currently doing. Like all messages going through RMS currently goes to Google services, non-encrypted.
All messages.
I thought you said that was Apple, RMS.
No, RMS is Apple, and now RMS is Google. Apple has iMessage.
Yeah, iMessage.
Right, but when they send a text message, I can still get a text message from my wife's phone. So that still goes back to their servers, and they determine that my number is not on their network, and it sends it out across the towers, right? I mean, everything Apple's going through them too.
Yes, that's true, because the RMS service is determined at the cell tower or not at the server, if this is an RMS message or if it's have to fall back to SMS.
Well, in Google's case, it's an iMessage.
No, RMS in Google's case.
I mean, iPhone's case.
RCS.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's complicated. But yeah, Google is. But the thing with iMessage is generally encrypted though. But Google's no. Google can see everything.
That's the Google way. That's what should be expected. The Google tracks.
I'd have to get up and walk 10 feet to be able to do that, DeLuca.
What's that?
Cover my camera.
Oh, yeah, you would.
I'm 10 feet away.
Well, yours is sitting next to you. Mine wanted to walk behind me, and she didn't want to be on camera.
I don't blame you.
She's more privacy conscious than you are.
Yeah, well, she shouldn't have been in the bathroom.
Oh. Insider information there.
And no, it had nothing to do with stool. She was in the tub.
No one asked.
No.
But everyone was thinking it.
No, I completely moved on, and I don't care.
I was going to talk about Marius's cat, but whatever.
Yeah.
My cat.
What, has he been running back and forth?
Yeah.
Actually, I think that the OnePlus 3T is maybe as powerful as the one you have. Like, which one you have, a S9?
S9 Plus. Yeah, that's the one I currently have on my screen. I found a guy who's got it for $79. Free shipping.
If it's the one that I was looking at, it's because it's got a broken back camera.
Oh, but you have the US version, so you have the Snapdragon chip, I assume.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Which one did you find?
Oh yeah. Well, it is a reservation lower.
Soonersoft is the person that is the seller.
Yeah, is it a broken back camera?
Yeah, so it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th picture. Shows a picture of the camera.
I just linked it. I don't see one with a broken camera. Maybe he's got multiple.
Wow, there's a lot there.
Yeah, sorry, I should have.
It's okay. So it's under the other pictures. So there's the +4 on the left-hand side. Maybe.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe it's a different one that I'm looking at.
This one has screen burn in.
Oh yeah, this one's okay. So then it's a different one. So this is the one that I was looking at. And I'm pasting this in the chat. If I can press the right key combination.
If you're going to spend $80 and it's messed up, then wouldn't it make more sense to just spend another $100 to get one that doesn't have any messes?
Yeah, that one.
$280.
What do you mean? What? $280? Where's that?
Do you have $180?
I wish.
No, I don't.
You could just wait until a Pine phone comes out.
He only buys $9
yeah.
stools. Let's talk about
How
my.
dare you? How dare you?
Nate's not in the cave.
Nope.
This one for $100 here seems. But yeah, the Pine phone is also that's going to run on mainline Linux, mainline kernel.
Well, that was another question, and Ryan dropped out, and everyone else got sidetracked, I guess.
I would have waited for that Pine phone.
Is it actually going to be a viable option?
I don't.
Specs wise, no. Price wise, yes.
What do you mean spec wise? No. I mean, what are you going to do with it? He's make phone calls.
He's talking about changing it as like his daily driver.
Phone calls, Telegram, eBay. What else do I need?
eBay.
What do you need? That's different than what anybody needs. You can say this is a generic question. Is it going to be as like a solution to replace an existing phone? It depends.
Yeah,
but I don't.
I mean, I can't. It doesn't have a rotary dial that I can put on the wall.
That's unfortunate. I agree. I also want to have one of those like big, the red phones, the attachment, so I can have the big like the weird old style phones. I need that.
Oh, the one with the handle that you bring, and you have
like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So for portability, Nathan wants a bag phone.
well, it has the same size as the Librem 5 though.
Well, the thing is,
No, that'd be a little bit smaller.
Yes, the size of the phone is fine.
No,
Like-
I talk about the rotary phone.
Oh,
Yeah, it'd be a little smaller.
Oh, it's a
than the,
Librem 5. It's
Librem 5.
thickness, yeah, for sure.
It'd be cheaper.
They probably it would be cheaper. They probably actually have one of those phones inside the thing. That's why it's so big.
But they can't make phone calls though. So
Well, they
right.
they didn't implement a way to crank it, and that's why it's not working.
Yeah.
But yeah, on if the point phone a viable option is, it really depends on your use case. It's not a yes or no answer at all.
Well, I think as long as it can do basic telephony functions, SMS,
Yeah,
phone call, and then be able to use like eBay.
it can do. Yeah, we have a web
Well,
browser. It depends on what if you put a bunch of touch on it, you could you could use it no matter what. Like as for basics for sure.
Yeah,
Because you don't need a special
the
app or whatever.
But they're
the
really
bank-
slower.
the banking app. Well, how much slower is it gonna be than my Pixel?
A lot.
A lot.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm going from what is this an 8-core processor? It's an octa-core.
An 8-core, 6 gig
You know,
RAMs, 6 gig RAM. Maybe you might have a 4 gig RAM. I don't know.
So if we want speed, the OnePlus 3 is probably the best option to go if you want to bounty touch.
I mean, I just don't want to press the phone button and count to 5 before I can dial my number.
Oh no, it's not
That's
that
what
slow.
I'm saying.
No, it's not.
It's
that.
not that
You know,
slow. When we're talking about speed,
Over
we mean
exaggeration.
you can open the snapshot apps and also text your mom at the same time. That kind of
Excuse me.
Right. My
Well, you
kid's
can't do
doing
that in an
something-
actual phone now. It's all single function now anyway.
Well, Android has split screen now, so you technically can do it.
For supported apps, not for everyone.
True. A bunch of touch have window mode.
You said S9 Plus.
Yes.
Okay, so you have 6 gig of RAM. So if you went with the
Yes.
OnePlus 3, it would basically be the same kind of power. Like it has the same
well-
amount of RAM. It has
It doesn't older
821
generation chip
Snapdragon.
though.
It has an older chip, yeah. But it's
But you
still
won't
the same
notice the
RAM
difference.
level. The quality of the RAM is the same. It's SD. It's DDR4 still. Like so
I don't think you even notice a difference.
Nice doorway, by the way, Nate.
Yeah, the Cryo 385, and this is a Cryo. It doesn't say. I'm confused. What? I don't know.
It's not that big of a deal. I just want to know what a decent daily driver, and if
845.
there was something that is capable of being a daily driver out there that is not Android. And and
A bunch of touches
iPhone
that.
is out of the. Okay.
I think it depends on what you need, because like the only thing that I had a problem with, like I found some issues, but the only thing that actually created me an annoyance that I was like, ugh, why is this so mean? Bitwarden didn't work. Like there is no Bitwarden
Oh
solution.
well, now that is a very big.
So
Don't Bitwarden work?
Bitwarden does not work because there is no app on Ubuntu Touch for Bitwarden, and the Android app for Bitwarden works with Andbox, but because of its containerization system, it's locked to that app, so you can't copy, you can't send it to your clipboard.
Copy and paste.
Yeah,
And that,
Well, some of them are long.
I've never actually tried Bitwarden on Android, so I don't know. I just use the web app that they have.
well, the web app is you have to log in every single time, and I don't want to do that.
Well, not necessarily if you make, because there is on web app which saves your cookies.
Yeah, but Bitwarden doesn't allow you to save a cookie. It'll force you to log out because the web app is different from their actual like extensions and apps. They won't allow you to save your password.
Oh, okay.
So
All right,
so you have
well,
to
that
put the
gives me something to look into.
So if there was a way to like, I don't know how I would do it, but
Wait a minute. Bitcoin is open source.
Yes, it is. It's .NET based, so
be.
that's why the issue is there.
That might be a cool.
Just have mono.
Implement.
Yeah, but if
they run it on mono on the server, as far as I know.
I think Nathan lost his stool.
But
his kid stole it.
Probably. But if Bitwarden was there, that's the only thing that like got in my way. Because the other stuff I could deal with. I actually like the fact that I could use TweetDeck and rather than use these stupid garbage apps that exist for Twitter. So that was nice. But the other things were just mostly fine. I didn't really have any huge problems. But the Bitwarden was like a pretty big hurdle.
Yeah, I can see that.
Let's see. I'm gonna look through my Instagram also doesn't work, but that's not that big a deal. It matters for
Instagram.
There is an Instagram app.
No, not really. It's like a Instaports or something. It's not Instagram because you can't post video with it. You can't post stories with it. You can't use IGTV with it. You can't send private messages to people. So yes, you can post photos and you can look at people's posts. That's it.
Yeah, I don't use Instagram, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to use Instagram, but marketer. Ugh. Terrible choice of profession I have. But for the most part, that's kind of it. I'm looking through things that I use. If there's anything else that really matters.
Well, to be honest, to become to that point in development where there's just smaller things that's stopping it is actually a good thing for us. Because this is something we've been working on for a long time, especially for a year or two, to bridge the gap from being able to use it as a daily driver and not have go through pain.
What about a SIP phone client?
Yep, there is Linphone on it. The open source SIP thing.
Yeah, so I guess, if in an ideal world, every app I want, it could be there. But if I had to say, what is a fundamental necessity, I would say Telegram, Signal, Bitwarden, an email client, because Deco needs work.
Just use Thunderbird. It'll be fine.
I don't even like using Thunderbird. I use Thunderbird on my desktop, and I don't even like that. So on mobile,
all right,
I'll just
buy one. Heck with it. Here's one for $118. I'll just buy one and download it, and when I have problems, I'll come to you guys, and you'll say, "This is what you're doing wrong."
Sure. Well,
then Michael will yell at me.
I will not yell unless you get a stool. Then I'll yell at you. But
yeah, I think we are in a place where we can when people are coming to us and say it's just that we are missing an app. I think that's a point where we are come to a point where we can be happy with, because we can't really do anything about the app problem.
Yeah, the fundamental pieces are good. There's things that you can't have on Ubuntu Touch, but they're all all the app space. When I used the text message, it was fine. When I used the phone calls, it was fine. I had network problems on my phone calls, but it had nothing to do with Ubuntu Touch because I had the same thing on Android. But yeah, I can't think of anything that was. The only thing that was a fundamental that I didn't have the good experience was with email with Deco, because Deco was fine, but it also was problematic.
Right, but it also goes back to the app problem again. So yeah.
Yeah, but in my opinion, I would argue that email is a fundamental piece for people.
I've never had a good email experience on mobile. I think that's all been terrible.
Well, I haven't had a good email experience here.
That's fair. That's a fair.
I think I've tried the best. I think the best I've ever had is K9 Mail. I think it was the best I've ever used.
I use that.
But Google is terrible. K9 is really not great.
No.
I would say it's but
K9's okay.
My business emails through Fastmail. Its app looks an awful lot like Gmail's app, so 6 of one, half does the other. It's just become an accepted emails crap on the phones, I guess.
I have to agree. I probably like Gmail's apps the best.
Michael, I finally figured out why it smells so bad in your room over there.
It smells fine.
You got a couple feet of stool in there.
It smells fine though. I like that smell now. The new stool smell.
Everyone likes their own brand, Michael.
Wow.
Stool pigeon? More like stool penguin.
Right.
So, can I ask you a question? It was a $9 stool?
Mm-hmm. No, it was on sale for $9.
Why do people care that you have a $9 stool? Actually, that's a great deal.
Exactly. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm
not saying I would. I'd almost kill a stranger for a $9 stool.
It's not just a stool. It has up and down functionality. It has nice rotate. Like the base allows you to have different angles. You can change your positioning anytime. It's not just a stool. So it's weird that people like there's I don't understand the level of troll it is.
I don't either. I don't even
Does it have a flushing lever?
Oh, no, shush.
Can I make phone calls?
Probably better than it'll probably make a phone call faster than Librem 5 does.
At least as good.
At least as good.
It's at least as good.
It's at least as good as Librem 5. Yeah.
And cheaper. It's $9.
Yeah, it's only $9.
So how tall does it get? Because I have a stool right now that in my workspace, but it's not quite tall enough.
I think that's the max. Hold on.
I can't tell if he's trolling or not.
No, I'm serious. I just have a standing desk. I don't have a chair in my office except for a stool, but it's too low.
Just so Jacob asked the question again.
He's not wearing pants. That's okay. I mean, sometimes
I am wearing pants. They're $9 pants.
So that's why you don't want us to see them.
Yeah, I'll get trolled.
I hope that
he gets everything at the $9 store.
Well, he is from, I think he said Georgia or Alabama, so they're probably like Confederate flag pajama pants, because he loves the Confederate flag.
If the word stool does not show up on DL and Extend at least once, I'm unsubscribing.
Challenge accepted.
Okay, so it's about waist height. So roughly about.
Are you really wearing no pants?
No, I'm not wearing no pants. I'm wearing pajamas.
Are you
told you
ashamed of your pajamas?
they're Confederate flag pajamas.
Okay, now I'll tell. I'm definitely not that. I would never wear that. That'd be torture of my soul.
America pants.
No.
They have little poop emojis on them, don't they? And that's why you don't want to do that.
It's skull and crossbones.
Well, then what's wrong with?
Because now it doesn't matter.
Man, Sir Patrick Stewart.
Now it doesn't really matter. It was because when they're here, I guarantee they were going to troll me about that. So.
I mean, we're still going to troll you about
That's
that.
different. At least it's not on the show.
Fair enough.
How did it go from a stool to feces?
Because it's stool softener,
Stool is another word.
Did I miss that? Did you say it was soft?
No, no. I mean, it is actually pretty soft and comfortable, but that's not why. It's because Zeb said it was like a stool sample.
Oh.
But doesn't stool mean feces in UK English?
It means that in general, yeah.
Yeah.
It has a double meaning.
Stool sample.
Oh, English has double meanings for everything. Like English is the most complicated language because of how the words sound the same, spelled differently, sound like that are spelled the same, sound different. Like it has words that have 40 different definitions.
Easier than any of the Germanic ones like German, Norwegian, Swedish. They have so much. Like a cat is you pronounce that with a female pronunciation, and then you have a tree which is not a female, and it's like it's a mess.
Well, yeah, that too. That's the only thing that's easy in English.
We don't have a masculine and a feminine side of every word.
Right. But we do have there in 7 different ways.
There, and there. They are.
Yeah.
Well, they make sense in context.
But you'd have to understand the context to get it anyway. Like you'd have to understand the different versions, because when you first start learning English, you wouldn't necessarily know that there's like that many different versions of the same word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With their cat over there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She sells seashells on the seashore.
Well, that's just a tongue twister thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sally sells seashells on a seashore for 77 cents on Sunday.
You're muted, Nate.
I'm saying, Marius, where are you
But
from?
the thing with Norway.
Norway. I would love to go to Norway sometime, but it's probably always cold, isn't it?
Not always.
Yes.
Not
well,
always.
not anymore after global warming, but
Yeah, I've been so disappointed with global warming here in Michigan. It's like it's not hitting us, and I sometime soon I'm just like, I don't know if I have to like burn like 55-gallon drums of oil just to have it like show up or something.
No, you have to kill a stranger for a stool.
well,
okay.
we
It's
made
cold here, like
so.
it's literally cold here like 9 months out of the year. I am so sick
If
of
you could
Michigan.
send some of that my way, I would appreciate it, because we were supposed to get like 6 inches of snow the other day, and we were lucky to see a dusting, and then it was gone the next day. And they were talking about snowstorms. It was nothing. It's gone, and it's been raining for 2 days.
I want the cold to go away.
The last time we had more than an inch or two was 1993, I think. We normally don't get snow.
It's been
That
5
was
years
before
since
Marius
we
was
had
born.
snow.
Yes, that was before I was born.
Well,
How
I was
was Marius?
I was only a kid at the time. Because we get when we do get snow, it's maybe an inch at most, and if it's the super worst thing, it's like 2 inches.
Well, you're not really missing out, to be honest.
I don't really want it. I don't like cold.
So I met someone who came from, I think it was Kenya. They came from Kenya to Michigan, and
Wow.
and they came and yeah. So she came. She and her family came like in wintertime in 2010, and that was a pretty bad winter actually. And she said, when I came to America, I thought we were in heaven because it was white everywhere, and then it went away.
Interesting. I thought it sounded. I was expecting that to be a torture story.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. She thought it was beautiful. She thought it was like so white and beautiful. I'm like, no, it's not. It's because it turns white and then brown and then slushy.
Yeah, it becomes disgusting immediately. It's so good for about an hour.
That is what global warming is doing also, is that now there's a slush all the time. There's no solid snow or no snow.
There's not any solids. It's not like stool.
No solids.
But actually, I think what's happened is, at least last year anyway, the stream.
Am I still
that
recording?
revolves around. I hope not. Around the northern hemisphere.
Yep.
You are. Oh my god, that's great.
I'm gonna go ahead and kill it now then.